Yes, it's Monday. Happy Monday. I hope you guys had a blessed weekend. I did. Did you go to liturgy? I did. Look, I'm not piety signaling. I'm just saying I went. Okay? Had my house blessed on Saturday. Beautiful. I recommend it. What else? The Epstein files. We're getting drowned in files. More files and folders. I don't even know how to approach it, honestly, if I'm being honest. It's just like, hey, what's your take on it? It's like, do I really have to sift through? Do I have to look at all of that? Do I gotta? Other people did it just fine. You know what I mean? I mean, Jay did an epic Epstein file dump, so he pretty much did all the work for everyone else. So that's good. What else is going on this week? We're very excited over at Ortho Thugs. We just broke 3,000 follows, which is great for an obscure comedic duo in the depths of YouTube. We have a bunch of skits that we're producing again, so we're up and running, so that's great. I don't have any current debates. I do have some interesting news, though. I don't know if you guys remember. You guys probably know. Let me see. You guys probably remember this person. You guys probably remember this person. Gutsick Gibbon. I reviewed a couple of her evolution talks and videos or whatnot. Well, Tacos, he knew that I was looking for more evolution proponents to debate. So he reached out to this chick and said, hey, you're interested in debating Jim Bob? And she immediately had all of these conditions. It was like I was talking to a guidance counselor. It was rough. I didn't talk to her. Tacos was the in-between, right? And so I said, well, listen, this is what I'm interested in debating. I said, I'm cross-examining the assumptions, the mechanisms, and the classification criterion for biology, including clades, species, and subspecies. I want to talk about the claims of evolution. That's what is in question, okay? Evolution is a positive claim. If Gutsick Gibbon here wants to defend evolution, the positive claim against cross-examination, I am the one doing the cross-examination. She said, I'm not interested. So she tried to reframe it as a creation versus evolution, which I explained many times is a false dialectic. Okay? It's false dialectic. Creation is not a scientific claim, okay? So examining the data through a creation lens, the data post-creation, you're talking about post-creation. It's not even the same category. Even admittedly, these evolution proponents talk about evolution after creation. They don't give an account of how we have the world as it is. So she responded. So she declined. She declined my prompt. You defend evolution and its claims. I'm going to get into what it means for random mutation to produce highly specialized features, heart, brain, liver, bones, etc. You explain that from an evolutionary perspective. She said, I want to do teaching. I want to teach. Well, dude, sorry. I get it. You're doing that stream with Will Duffy where he's kind of like the soft student who's just, doesn't really counter you on anything. He's just there to learn. I get that you want that. But that's not what a debate is, Erica. That's not what a debate is. She even goes as so far as writing an email to both of us. She writes an email to both Tacos and me. And included, I'll read some of the email, but included in the email, this statement. Now just think about this. Can you imagine being an evolution proponent and you're open to debate, but you write the following? Finally, to Jim Bob, I would suggest that for any debate, quote, with me, you familiarize yourself with the basic terms surrounding the topic. I shouldn't have to explain the mechanisms of evolution to someone who agreed to debate it. Excuse me? The mechanisms are the thing in question. I know what you say the mechanisms are. I'm familiar with that. In a translation, in a debate about the mechanisms, whether or not the mechanisms that are proposed under the evolutionary view actually do produce this kind of phenomenon, I shouldn't have to defend that. And then she calls me bad faith, too, out the gates. Some of this email, I'll read this email. It's crazy. She says, tacos, Jim Bob. I've taken the liberty here to include Jim Bob in this conversation, so he knows that I am amendable to prior to agreeing to the chat. First of all, tacos, thank you so much, whatever. For both, but primarily Jim Bob, she says, Today I took a bit of time to watch Jim Bob's interaction with others on MDD to revise, confirm my expectations of him, and I have a few thoughts. Jim Bob, I am happy to debate you on the evidence for evolution, but given your presuppositional stylings... Oh, great. Did I just freeze? Am I frozen? Oh, no. Oh, no. Hold on a second. Am I still coming through vocally anyway? Hold on a second. Hold on. Let me see. Camera? Activate? Nope. Okay. Well, they got to me. They got to me. All right, hold on a second. Let me see. Let me see if I can disconnect this for a second. And, okay. Hold on a second. Hold on. Yeah, why do you eat cow poop? Vagine, have you... All right, let me see. Hold on. Let me see if it's... There we go. All right, now we're back. Anyway, so let me just toggle this background real quick. Remove. All right, we're back. Thank you, guys. All right, so she says all this. She's saying all this, right? My presuppositional stylings? I'm sorry. What does that mean? The cope of these people. That's all they have to say. They're like, oh, undermining my epistemic system. Undermining and trying to cross-examine my assumptions. That's presuppositional stylings. Excuse me, Erica. The entirety of evolution is based on a presupposition about the past, okay? Presuppositional stylings. I'm not sure how fruitful it would be. I don't. So Erica, if I ask you, how is it that random mutation produces a highly specialized thing like a heart or a brain? That's presuppositional stylings. What a cope. You seem to have a lot of hang-ups about very basic concepts and assumptions in science. Really. And I think I will directly hinder any conversation about the data. Yeah, no shit. Because data needs an interpretive paradigm, Erica. And I know this. And you seem to know this too. But you don't want to deal with that. You just want your presuppositions granted about how to interpret data. And then we talk about it after the fact, right? These people are such cowards. She further writes, for example, in one interaction, I saw you take issue with the assumption that fossils represent populations. Yeah. The assumption is when you find a singular thing called a fossil, it represents the change of an entire population or something like this. I can explain how we recognize pathology in fossil record, the rarity of fossilization in general, dramatically reducing the odds of the anomalous individuals. Yes, it's true that if you found something, a fossil, because of the rarity of a fossil itself, further the rarity of it being an anomalous fossil, yeah, you could talk about odds, but that's not what's in question. What's in question is whether or not finding any fossil from a different, quote, time period assumes transition. It doesn't matter if it's anomalous or not. That doesn't matter. I'll grant you find a fossil that represents a snapshot of the population. I don't need to grant you that, but even if I granted that, this is the kind of thing that would come up in a debate, Erica. Even if I granted that a fossil is a snapshot of a population, looking at a snapshot of a population still doesn't give you this thing called a transition, which is an event. Okay? That's what's in question. That's why you don't want to debate this, okay? Because you know that you have to assume post hoc that there's a thing called an event called a transition, and you're looking at a population of bones. You're looking at the bones, and you say, look, we found the transition. No, you didn't. You found a fossil. She further says, or that in the case of hominins, we have a very rich record of that directly confirms the presence of morphological united populations. Yeah, things look the same. That's still not giving you transition. But if you then respond with pathology may have looked the same as a healthy in the past, how do we know that all the fossils didn't just so happen to be preserved anomalous mutants? Well, not anomalous. See, you don't even know what you're debating. You don't even know what you're debating. I don't need to appeal to an anomalous fossil to say, oh, it could have been just like a deformed fossil. No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This is why the camel world hypothetical puts you guys in such a problematic position to defend, because if a camel exists today and let's say alpacas no longer existed and you found them, you couldn't just say, well, look, obviously the camel is a result of some divergence from this alpaca. When we know in this hypothetical, well, an alpaca could just exist with a camel. You couldn't actually say one came from the other from that perspective. But again, because you're a coward and you won't debate this, and you'd rather debate a false dialectic called creationism versus evolution, you'll never get questioned on this. And that's probably why you're not going to debate it at all. Instead, you're going to set up soft interviews with Will Duffy, where you get to teach him. I'm going to teach you, right? Okay. She says, just because the bones are found in the same place and fit together like a puzzle piece, it doesn't mean that they don't belong to the same individual. Nobody ever argued that, okay? So that's just the straw man. Nobody ever argued that. You're inventing positions that I don't have because you're bad faith. I used to debate anyone, she says, that offered, and really I still do, although they rarely offer anymore. But when it smells like someone is going to be bad faith, I get the receipts beforehand. Smell? What is that? What sense is that? Gutsick giving. Talk about bad faith. I come to the table with a very specific, concise prompt against you, and you write an email saying it smells like bad faith. What a projection. What an absolute cope. What's more bad faith than off the bat, right off the bat, well poisoning in an email to the moderator and to me that I smell like bad faith? That's bad faith. I get receipts beforehand, so if I choose to dissect this conversation on my channel later, I can demonstrate my, quote, opponent had every chance to prepare to the debate in the actual topic. Unbelievable. This lady, unbelievable. Here's the receipt right here. I'm reading the receipt, Erica Gibbons. I'm reading the receipt right now. You presented bad faith right off the bat before we even agreed to a prompt. You said, you're bad faith. You declared it so. You disgust me. If we have a conversation, And that would be this, that would, she says this is what's so funny about these people. She says, if we have a conversation, and that would be what this is, since scientific debates don't happen on YouTube, but they happen in the literature, where the data is to do the heavy lifting. No, data doesn't do anything, lady. Basic philosophy of science, Erica. This is where I would get you also. Show your ignorance. Data doesn't do any lifting. Data needs to be interpreted. You ignorant fool. I will not entertain Philbro precept bullshit. What are you even referring to? What an embarrassment you are. You will not entertain Philbro precept bullshit. What is that? She writes as an example, how do we know radiometric dating works? She calls that precept bullshit. I'm sorry, that's a skeptical question. How do we know radiometric dating works to the extent that you're extrapolating is a fair question. She calls that precept bullshit. What a cope. How do we know these fossils belong to the same individual? I didn't question that. I'm not questioning the individual. Oh, she says those are fine and reasonable assumptions to question. Great, okay. But physics itself might have been different despite the no indication. Nobody ever argued that. I've never argued that. Someone may have argued that. Scientists fake the fossils. Well, people have faked fossils, so that's. I don't need to argue that people faked fossils, Erica. See, what's bad faith? I've never even said any of these things. I've never even said any of these things. There are some.
With my army of cow poop and cow pee.
There are probably people that question fossils, which they should, because, fake fossils existed, You can't just ignore Piltdown Man. That was used for 50 years as an example of evidence for evolution, right? That happened. You can't just be like, blah, 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 blah. It didn't happen, okay? But that's I don't need that. I don't need Piltdown Man to question evolution. I don't need any of this stuff. I don't need theism. I don't need a creation paradigm to question evolution. All I need to do is point to what you guys claim and see if you can defend it. And you guys can't. None of you can. None of you can. You can't even do it. So she says the debate topic would be this. So she comes back with a debate topic. Right? This is the debate topic she wants to do. Does the science support human evolution or creationism? That's not a proper prompt. And she doesn't want to get into, quote, presuppositionalism. I'm sorry, Erica, but creationism would be a worldview. Human evolution itself would be a claim within a worldview. This is why these people, they're lacking of philosophy. They call it Philbroing. Properly examining categories when you examine truth claims. She calls that Philbroing. That's just philosophy. Does the science support evolution? No, the science is the thing in question, dummy. That's the thing in question, the science. We're questioning whether or not human evolution is compatible with what you call proper science. I say no. You say, no, I want to do the prompt, does the science grant me that we already have the science? No, lady, you little snake. You little pumpkin-headed snake. Unbelievable. I want to debate, does the science support human evolution or creationism? I'm not granting you the science, lady. I'm happy to be interrogated on evolution's veracity, she says. I can defend it well, although it doesn't need me to. You can't defend it well. But if you're skeptical, surely you have a better model. No, that's irrelevant. I could have no other model, Erica. I could have no other model. No other model is needed to question an existing model. No other model. Well, surely you have a better model. No, not surely. Not surely, because a better model to describe what? What you think is already happening? You can't have a model for something unless you actually are trying to properly describe what you're looking at. The question goes like this. Oh, you have a better model for explaining the variety of animals we see today? Is that the question? You have a better model? Well, if you've watched any of my debates, Erica, which clearly you haven't, about evolution specifically, you would see that these things, the way in which you classify the variety of animals, ends up violating the law of identity. That is to say, you can't even hold to that there is a category of X animal. You can't even hold to that there's an actual objective category called the clade. You can't even examine these things. She's like, that's pre-sup bullshit. No, it's not. It's a massive weakness in your view. A massive weakness, and nobody's really going after it. But they will. Once they see my debates with you guys, they're going to start going after this problem. For instance, put in simple terms, they argue X changes over time and becomes not X. Okay? You can't even say X changes over time unless you maintain at least this identity called X. For instance, human beings are born, and you could say me as a human being change in a variety of ways over time in my lifetime. But the identity of me, that I'm a human being, my body, this doesn't change. This is the difference between adaptation and looking at changes within an organism or a population, and are arguing that the entirety of the population itself as an identity changes. These are two different claims. And these people just call this pre-sup bullshit because they can't deal with it. They can't deal with defending their taxonomy and their cladistics. They can't defend it. It becomes incoherent. And so they don't want to. They don't want to defend it. They don't want to defend a position where there has to be a moment where human beings as we know it today emerged. There has to be a moment where that happens. Otherwise, they're just in the paradox, right? They're in a paradox where they can't know. But that has to be true for any moment in time for evolution. Anyway, she goes on to say, I'm happy to interrogate, right? She says that's how science works generally. No, that's not. No, the science doesn't work generally this way. Science doesn't work like, let's do a philosophical model and compete with another philosophical model. You're demonstrating in this email, Gutsick Gibbon, you don't even know what science is. That's not how science works generally. Science works generally like this. You look at a phenomenon in nature and you ask a question of what's causing it. If you have access to the thing you think is causing the phenomenon, you introduce it in an experiment and you remove it and you repeat it. Then you can develop a scientific theory. Generally, science doesn't work like this. Hey, I have a post hoc model describing what causes the variety of animals in the world. Generally, science is present another model. No, that's not science. That's storytelling. She says, if you doubt a model, you point out its weaknesses and then supply a better one. No, you don't need to supply a better one. You don't need to supply a better one. Someone else could do that. That's also how science works from your model. People rigorously attack the current model and maybe someone else presents it. But they start looking because the other one has been destroyed. Unbelievable. These people are so unbelievably bad faith and sneaky. So sneaky. So no, that's false. That's actually fallacious. That's actually a fallacious type of reasoning, Erica Gibbons. This is generally how science works. If you doubt a model, you point out its weaknesses and then supply a better one. No, you can do one step without the other. She says, if Jim Bob wants to just grill me on evolution, that can be arranged as well. Yeah, that could be arranged. You just refuse that arrangement. She says there is nothing he can say I haven't heard from another creationist. That's false. She already assuming that, but that's false. But any debate on evolutionary theory will begin with its support and end with its complete death of any alternative model. This means I will grill Jim Bob on his alternative mode of explanation for the natural world from that's not how I argue. I don't grant the natural world. That requires a worldview. That requires philosophy. That requires metaphysics. She just thinks you can do an explanation of the natural world without a metaphysic. It's so bad. Finally, to Jim Bob, I would suggest that for any debate with me, she writes this. She doesn't edit. She has no editing in her head. She says, I would suggest for any debate with me to familiarize yourself with the basic terms surrounding the topic. I shouldn't have to explain, quote, the mechanisms of evolution. I shouldn't have to explain the mechanisms of evolution in a debate on evolution. Unbelievable. 2 more for the first goal, y'all. 2 more chats in 3 minutes. Let's get that goal, and I'll go ahead and read all the super chats so far, okay? Anyway, so that's where we're at with Gutsick Gibbon. Typical cowardice response. Totally trying to control the way in which evolution is talked about and defended. And that's why she does these things with Will Duffy. He gets to be the sit-in creationist, intelligent design person, and he gets to sit there and listen to her ramble and not ask really hard-hitting questions that she can't answer. Not a good representation of someone who's skeptical at all. But that's how they operate. That's how they all operate. Except for Colossus. Shout out to Colossus, who is actually considering the philosophical problem I'm positing about clades, about species, with the tree analogy. What a great little exchange we had, right? I'm going to clip that. I'm going to show that these evolution proponents, they're not properly examining their claims. Colossus is going to make a video. He said, admittedly, I have to go back and think about this. This is missing something. Anyway, let's go through some of these super chats. $5 from Jordan. I think this man was stabbed by a deranged unicorn with a drinking problem and 3 faces. You're not allowed to question it unless you have a culprit. Right. $10 from Edward. He says, Thomas Huxley. Hold on. Okay. There we go. Thomas Huxley was Darwin's bulldog. Jim Bob is Jesus' pit bull. As an elder millennial electrician, pseudo-intellectuals wearing Carhartt apparel is equivalent to stolen valor. Thank you for that super chat. Giovanni, not for the goal, thank you. Another member there celebrates 4 months. Was watching an old conversation you had. Couldn't you just say that like fruits come from trees but don't have tree nature, animals can come from another animal? No, that would be a type of category error. So a fruit, a tree, it's a part of the nature of the tree to produce a fruit. The fruit, when it's still on the tree, is part of the tree. So it doesn't change the nature. To say a fruit is fundamentally different, it's not. It's still consistent with the nature of the tree. In fact, the seed of the fruit is the necessity of the next tree, but the tree is the necessity of the fruit. And so you have an endless regress issue. So no, none of the distinctions between a fruit coming from a tree violates the identity of the tree itself over time. The trees maintain their treeness, which a part of their nature produces fruit. That's a part of the nature of a tree. The nature of a tree never changes because the fruit exists. So no, evolution, for that to be an analogy, evolution posits that the fruit is the new iteration of the tree, but the tree doesn't maintain its identity ever. That's gone. That's in the past. That's an ancestor. You wouldn't say the tree is the ancestor of the fruit, right? That's why it's disanalogous. But it's a good question because they might actually say something like that, honestly. The word presup is like garlic to a vampire to these people. They shriek and coil as if it was a stupid BS. Wouldn't it be easy to refute? Yeah. That's why they're so afraid of it. Don't mention presup. Don't presup. I don't want to deal with it. Yeah, you don't want to deal with it. Probably a feminist. Yeah, well, she's definitely heard me call her Trans Millhouse. So I'll give her credit for thinking that was funny. How to say you're a sued without saying you're a sued, right? Unhit Bone, thank you so much. You're running, JB, scared. You just happen to be running towards her while she's running in reverse. That's right. Suzanne says, send me your money. That's correct. That's also correct. The correct answer. Absolutely. Now that I have a beanie, I don't want it anymore. Exactly. I threw away all my beanies. Giovanni says, Jim, my boy, guess what? I just moved to a new house and I found my first Orthodox church. It's beautiful. I'm going next Sunday. That's awesome. Glory to God. Speaking of, I met 2 more people at my parish that one of them approached me. Shout out to Cade. He approached me. He was raised Mormon. He went Protestant a little bit, and then he found Orthodoxy through me and some other people. He said that I was essential, not tapping myself on the back, it's just what he said, to him inquiring, and he had no idea he'd be showing up to my parish. And another guy, too, who was just visiting from Chicago, totally unaware, took his 2 atheist friends to liturgy, and was like, what? Jim Bob? So that's cool. I love when that stuff happens. Anyway, so that's where we're at with people in the evolution world. I'm still waiting to hear back from Sean Kelly, who does a huge podcast. I explicitly challenged Professor Dave and Forrest Falkai on this. They don't work with modern day debate. They're too woke, apparently. That's what James said. So there's that. Anyway. So yeah, I consider that a type of win, in fact. If Erica Gutsick Gibbon can't defend evolution on its own merits, on its own claims, right? Without introducing an alternative. Who cares about the alternative? Let's get to the bottom of evolution. Let's get to whether or not evolution can defend itself. No, I want to talk about creationism. No, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. I told her straight up, and I'll tell all the evolution proponents this. I'm starting from the assumption, right? Speaking of forfeiting presuppositionalism, I'm starting from the assumption when I cross-examine evolution that creationism is false. False. That's what I'm starting with. Larry says, do you think a good way to, quote, lock the Evo interlocutor into accounting for their worldview without them presupposing naturalism is to organize a debate in a way where they can run? Well, you can document them running from it, right? But there is no way to really argue for evolution without presupposing naturalism. Even if you think theism, some pseudo type of theism or Christianity could defend evolution, you're still going to be arguing within a naturalistic paradigm, which it's a mistake. That's a mistake. So, so it just shows, I wanted to get that out first, in fact, if she's not going to debate me, what I'll do is make her the subject and force her into response. I'll just make a video about evolution. I'll just levy all my counter arguments and critiques of evolution and just make her the recipient. And and you know what I mean? It'll be about you not being able to respond to it, and I'll challenge you to that. And your inability, if you try to respond, Erica Gibbons, you won't be able to, because that'll start a back and forth where I'll then examine your just so claims in response. Or you'll just say, nuh-uh. You'll just go, nuh-uh. I don't need to examine those. He's presupping me. That's all you'll say. So I'll do it that way. If you don't want to debate me one-on-one, and defend evolution as it is without any other models, fine. I'll just make the video with the levied attacks on evolution, and we will all watch as you fail to respond to it. So we'll do it that way. You pig snake. You filthy pig snakes. Unbelievable. General Specific says that outside of an adaptation allowing for survival, which in turn allows for offspring can have mutations which would allow for increased survival. Well, it could, but that's the question, is whether or not a random mutation from that perspective is random at all. So that's what's in question, and that's the difference between epigenetics and what they would call evolution from a mutation perspective that fundamentally changes the genes, as opposed to creates a set of new responses to the environment. Mostly it's the latter, generally specific. So the question isn't whether or not animals, individual or population level, have the capacity, the ability to adapt to the environment. The question is, what produces. Is that already embodied in the population, in the code? I would say yes. To say random mutation produces this, you wouldn't see the adaptation in real time anyway. That's the difference between the views. That's why you can't say, quote, evolution at the micro level, watching bacteria react to certain things or watching something adapt and be able to build a defense to something else. Well, the question still is whether or not that organism has the capacity to do that in the first place. I would say it does. To try to trace it to a, quote, random mutation, you're saying something that is random and unintended can produce an intentional result in real time and respond to external stimuli. That's a claim. Craig Comedy, who's still holding dearly like the last dingleberry of his worldview to evolution, he says, how much mystery is allowed in a worldview, since there are mysteries when it comes to God's essence? Well, the worldview will tell you, Craig, what a mystery is. The worldview will tell you what the mystery is. So that's an epistemic question and a metaphysical question. So from the Christian worldview, we use the term mystery in a very specific sense. You know, we don't hold that miracles occurring are mysterious. The mystery of what something is in reference to God's essence, that's a mystery of how we can exhaust definitionally what something is. But we can still use apophaticism to say what it's not. So it's not like you can still know something. But from a naturalistic worldview, Craig, they have a lot more mysteries, ironically, than a Christian worldview. They have a lot more mysteries, and they say, well, that's good. We have mysteries. We don't know. We're not so prideful to know. Well, no, that's assuming that knowledge is possible. That's assuming you have a mind. That assumes all sorts of assumptions. That's why transcendental arguments are so fascinating, Craig, is because naturalists, people who defend naturalism, grant themselves things that are not natural at all. They grant themselves personhood. They argue for human rights. They argue that information exists, that knowledge exists. Knowledge should be a fantasy to these people. Truth, knowledge, mind, these things should be mysterious, novel fantasies, just as unreal to them as angels. But that's only consistent. That's a consistent empiricist. That's like if David Hume still existed. He would probably be like, yeah, these are just lies. These are just like fancy, useful lies that we have as empiricists. Generally Specific says, the criticism was levied at evolution versus intelligent design or God, that an organism cannot evolve within its own contained life cycle. No, that wouldn't be evolving. That would maintain generally specific. You have to understand that evolution holds that the thing itself that the actual category of something down the line becomes something that it previously wasn't. So when you say its own contained life cycle, no, that's not what evolution is essentially claiming. Because when you say its life cycle, you're actually holding to a universal category of the thing itself. That the it is a particular in a group category that maintains its identity. Evolution holds that clade or that species eventually breaks, has a one step away from itself where that thing no longer exists and a new thing exists that's no longer the past thing. That's why it becomes incoherent. Remember I debated Craig? Was it Craig? I think it was Craig. He was talking about a mosquito, right? They always use these examples. Oh, a mosquito, you introduce something to the mosquito population. The previous kind maintains its identity, and the new identity is the mosquito group that can't procreate with the previous kind. Well, first of all, that's a hindrance. That's not an advantage. That's a hindrance. It's much more advantageous to have a mutation that you can still procreate with the previous population and continue forward with your new, transition into Spider-Man. But they have to then call that new thing not a mosquito. They have to eventually say the Pakicetus produced a whale, not even turned into a whale, produced a whale. The Pakicetus produced a whale. This is incoherent. Because there's no identity to hold to. Every time you say X is changing over time to be a new thing, you've already violated identity. What changed into a new thing? In fact, from the evolutionary view, nothing actually changes into a new thing. Ever. If it's a new thing, there's no more it changing. If A turns to B, A over time turns into B. What turns into B? A. What do you mean? It's no longer A. It's a violation it's a violation. It violates the law of identity. It's not logical. It's just not logical. So, what's up, Crucible Andrew? You want to shut up? I'm trying to sleep. It's only noon. Dude. What did I just see? Oh, my gosh, that panel Andrew was just on. He's going to have an epic debate tonight, by the way, Andrew. Holy shit, dude. I'm so glad you got to interact with that goblin dude. What's his name? J.L. Warren. What a slimy prick. That's who I tried to organize a debate with him, and he never jumps on the panel after I debate it at tacos, but that was great. If you guys want to see that, you should watch that. Andrew jumps on to Breakfast Tacos, and J.L. Warren goes after him, and Andrew simply goes, "Can you give me an example? Can you give me an example?" And he's just like, "Yeah, you're a thinking piece of shit. You're a piece of shit. You're so mean." But tonight, Kurt, you're gonna deal with a real dickhead tonight. You think that Shapiro guy is a dickhead, Andrew? Oh, tonight's gonna be epic. That guy Kurt is he's a real weasel. He's a real slippery weasel, you'll see. What clade or chemical? That's actually a good question, Jay. That's actually a massive question I asked, because if everything's just like a bunch of material and from their view everything's arbitrarily subcategorized as pure material, you go, okay, or maybe they're in a clade, right? Maybe humans are in there is the start of a clade. Maybe I started a clade.
So Apple tried to challenge me on dinosaurs, and when I asked him to disprove they weren't actually dragons, he had nothing.
Yeah, that's what's funny is that dragons are totally possible under the evolutionary worldview. You just take like a flying lizard beast and you give it like a chemical reaction like from a bombardier beetle. You can't say it's impossible. That's for sure. You can't say that. The Christian King. Oh yeah, that guy's actually not even worth it at this point. Christian King. Did you guys see Ben Thorpe? Maybe we'll watch that. Ben Thorpe called into the Golem, God.net, and he pressed him on some things, but ultimately, Ben Thorpe's always going to lose. But it was actually a funny spurg out. It was actually enjoyable to watch. Josiah, thank you so much. God bless you and your the Bob family. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate you. So yeah, that's something worth watching. Because, oh man, J.L. Warren got real quiet real quick. Real quick. Actually, I'll watch it. Let's just look at it because it was so funny. Let's just take a look, see. Let's just take a look. Because that's so enjoyable watching him specifically. J.L. Warren specifically. And none of them had anything. It was exactly as expected. None of them had a damn thing. Let's take a look, see. All right. So J.L. Warren is the guy who looks like a beaver.
If you enjoy these videos, please make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And please join us live. We're live every evening, usually after 4 p.m. CST. We'll see you soon.
Not that I heard someone was in
this
here
fucking
about
guy.
Me, so.
This dipshit.
Yeah, I hear.
Thank you so much. Holy cow! That is a
Evolution
big
is
super
essentially
chat.
just the ship of Theseus paradox. If you change a plank over time, is it still the same ship? What if you change it into a wooden car over time? Are identities based on their nature? Thanks. God
Yeah,
bless.
it's actually worse than that. The ship thing, it's still a ship you're looking at. So you're questioning whether or not it's the same ship. Evolution's worse. Evolution is questioning whether or not it's a ship at all. Not whether it's the same ship. It's actually whether or not the ship itself is no longer a ship. That's where evolution has to operate. So it's actually worse than that paradox, yeah.
I'll pull you up on the panel.
Oh, I can't wait. Look at this
That
guy.
was
Oh, I hate this guy with a passion.
actually going on
Oh, I despise this guy with a passion. Look at him.
right now.
Just give me 1 week of that movie Purge.
Why?
Jail?
Because you're a piece of shit
You're a piece of shit. That's it.
and you have nothing viable to say, nothing valid to say, and the only
Meh.
purpose that you will ever serve that is positive will be the grass you fertilize one day. So there's no point.
Oh my gosh, why are you he's already crying. And you're a big meanie pants, and you're gonna die and fertilize the grass, and that's it. That's all ever. That's a.
Point to you.
That's it.
I thought you were bitching because I rescheduled the debate or something.
No, not at all.
No,
That was something
we had
Taco was
talked
dealing with.
about that, brought it up, and then he started going ham there.
No, that was something that Taco was dealing with on the back end.
Yeah. We
Oh,
got,
so
Culture Cats, what's going on? I am happy. I'm glad to hear that the wise words of Jim Bob, the guy who doesn't even know what mitosis is. Let me know when you have an argument.
It's
taking
just-
care of, and then he went ham there. But
so it's just like the normal liberal, you're a piece of shit, horrible fascist shit, just
Meanie
that
pants
stuff.
Yep.
You assume I'm
Really?
liberal?
Why? I don't
assume
know
I'm
why else
liberal.
you would call me a piece of shit.
Do I have to
assume
be
I'm
liberal
liberal?
to call you to say you're a piece of shit?
Usually it's liberals who say I'm a piece of shit. Yeah.
So it's a composition fallacy.
Well, we're not having an argument. We're comparing emotional states right now, right?
Right, because you're just jumping in with assumptions when I'm just calling you out for your rhetoric and the shit that you espouse. You're a piece of shit.
What?
Oh, that's fair. So are you a liberal?
That's fair.
Does it matter if I am?
That's fair.
Yeah, can you answer my question? Are you a liberal?
Does it matter if I am? Is that what this is about? Is it about politics, or is it about like literally your behavior?
So this is the thing with this guy. He always does the same thing. It's the same as all of these people. They argue from their baseless, preference-based position of morality, but they double down on it like it's established. They're like, things I don't like that I find icky and I disagree with, you're a piece of shit, and that's it. Okay? Not a damn argument. I mean, dude, JL, the anomaly of Andrew showing up on a tiny channel to give you any time, and this is it, JL Warren? Oh my gosh. This is it?
Here.
You could have taken down the king?
Why? I don't know why you won't answer the question.
Because the question is irrelevant. You wanting to push the conversation into a particular direction. You're wanting to push the conversation into a particular.
Do we have a debate?
You're wanting to push
just answer the question.
You're wanting to push the conversation into a particular direction that's completely irrelevant. I'm not falling for your bullshit, Andrew.
Say not a damn thing. You can watch that whole thing anyway. But tonight's debate over here is going to be better because Kurt himself, I've interacted with him, and he's as slippery as this guy with the beard here, who doesn't earn his beard, but he's gonna be in worse shape than the JL Warren guy tonight because he doesn't know how to properly present an argument. So it's really unfortunate for these guys, but it's going to be great to watch because the argument between Christian ethics and secular ethics, what's better for society, is such a well-established problem for secularism. It's like almost like these people watch and seethe, and they don't learn anything about the debates. They don't learn a damn thing. They don't learn what's likely to be presented in the debate from the Christian side. They don't look in the last 3 years of this debate, ever since Dillahunty and Andrew, what was presented, they don't look at it and they go, wait a second, we actually are in a problem here. We do have a problem here. And I'm not going to telegraph the likely question, but when it's presented, you'll see that these people, they don't learn. And the problem with their system is that whether you're JL or Tacos or any of these guys or even Culture Cats in the stream here, they don't rigorously criticize their own secular view. Christians do. There's no corrective authority from a secular view. You can't debate that you're not a real secularist. You can't say that from a secular position. There's no deontology. There's no duties. You can't say you have a duty as a secularist. You can't say that as a secularist. There's nothing you can say. You can never hold someone else to that standard, ever. And they're like, what? No, it's not a problem. It's fine. What do you mean? Is he hostile? Yeah, he's hostile. Yep. Yeah, he's hostile. Well, he's like passive aggressive. Kurt is the Beaver guy is just like an overweight lesbian with a beard, hostile. He's like one of those people in the streets, the lesbians in the streets, hostile. But Kurt is sort of like passive aggressively hostile. So Andrew wanted me to pay him for what? Actually, I wanted to look at your debate there. You guys, let's actually look at that. That's actually a good precursor. Culture Cats just did a debate on, what is it? Christianity versus something? Is that what it was? It was boring. It was slightly boring. I'm going to speed it up, though, a little bit. It was a bit boring. I watched some of it. Super boring. Let's go to Culture Cats now that he's someone in our chat. Honestly, he seems like a fun kind of guy, you know. And he'll give you shit. But he can take it. So I respect that off the bat. I mean, you hold a nonsense view, though. I mean, Culture Cats. Secularism is just indefensible.
Thank you.
That's good. Cats, what have you got on your mind today? Are you up for it?
I am up for this. I will say this might attract people from both sides of the fence. So if you like, obviously you know where to find me here and over on the Culture Cats. But if you like what Josh says, if you're in favor of his argument, then he's got a podcast which is on YouTube and Spotify, which is linked both in the description. So get that out nice and early. Check those out.
I believe it's the best for society. If it's operating under what Christ teaches. So I challenge my opponent today that whatever evidence that he has for Christianity being bad for society, I would like chapter and verse for where Jesus taught us to be that way.
Oh gosh, that's already a loss from the Josh guy. I don't know who Josh Monday is, but right off the bat, not good. Heterodox nonsense, just Bible alone crap. You don't need that. You don't need that. You don't need any of that. I mean, that's probably Christians out there who are arguing, Christianity versus secularism. You don't, dude, going to the Bible, I need you to tell me in the Bible where it says to do this. Well, no. You could grant the worst possible take scripturally. You can grant the secularists the worst, most seemingly egregious, abhorrent scriptural take of Christianity. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. They have no standard to say it's bad. It's just a preference. Old Testament, you believe that happened? Yeah. Well, I mean, that sounds horrible. Yeah, it sounds horrible. I mean, it's just a feature of the times.
For example, if you try to bring up past Christian societies where they were doing tyranny or crusades or anything that is connected with people that claim to be Christian, I need chapter and verse to where Christ recommended us to commit such heinous acts.
Oh, boy. Okay. All right.
Anyone on earth can say I am Christian, but if they are not following God.
That's such a good point right there. Chapter and verse is the Christian version of pronouns in Bible. That's actually really funny.
God's commands, they are in their everyday life, they're not being Christian. So you can't claim something sinful as an effect right. Christianity has had on society because it goes against the core teachings of what it means to be Christian. So when you make a claim, be specific to where the New Testament, where in the New Testament we are commanded to do what you claim. If you can't,
Josh, bad Josh, terrible Josh.
Can't do that. If you can do that, I will accept it as being evidence. But if you can't, you were just making a claim without proper evidence. My claim is Christianity has done amazing things for society, such as fostering foundational concepts of human dignity, equality, and charity, directly influencing development of education, healthcare, and humanitarian efforts worldwide. Its emphasis on caring for the vulnerable has created a framework for social responsibility that remains vital today.
Okay, good.
Christians were responsible for the establishment of the first hospitals and first universities. I also believe Christianity has given Western civilization the moral compass, and without it, there would be a moral void. I believe if society followed Jesus' core teachings to a T, then society would be far better than any society that's ever existed. Examples, love your neighbor as yourself. It's in Matthew 22, 39 through 40. Loving your neighbor as yourself fosters healthier communities, but bringing them up. Also the abolition crusades where Pope Innocent III ordered a 20-year campaign. What that is people
chanting for this debate. And just because I'm not a Christian, just because I don't believe in God doesn't necessarily mean that I have to think that the rules promoted by Christianity are bad. There are a lot of good things Christianity does. There are a lot of people who've benefited from becoming Christian. And I'm not here to say Christianity is a bad thing. What I'm here to do is take an honest look at, in society as a whole, what can we look at that's quantifiable that would suggest if Christianity is actually going to improve society or actually not really improve it. Okay, that's kind of like where I'm coming from. So I started looking here in the Journal of Religion and Society, and I found this paper. This is not an anti-faith journal. It just looks at different religions and how they integrate in society. And I found this paper, which took some data from this website here. And all this was data from the Human Development Data, which basically is a source of data that loads and loads of sociologists and psychologists use for like when they do like literature reviews and analysis and stuff like that. So he's taken data from that, and he's drawn this conclusion here about the United States. I just want to
human dignity because Bible is like saying Dilla Monkey has value because monkey has value. Well, whether or not the grounding epistemically, or whether or not you can prove or something like that humans have value, the question in this type of debate is whether or not even holding to that view is superior to a position that can't really hold that view at all for any good reason.
Quickly read this. The United States' deep social problems are all the more disturbing because the nation enjoys exceptional capital wealth among the major Western nations. It's a very rich country. This last sentence, the US is the least efficient in terms of converting this wealth into cultural and physical health. There's an issue there. And the person that wrote this paper did a little bit of a study, and I do apologize for the way this has turned out.
See, physical health is not, that could be a category, Culture Cats, if you're still here, for something that's, quote, good. But the problem is that a super healthy society could actually maintain itself through behaviors that you think are ultimately bad. So the health of the individual or the population actually doesn't tell you whether or not the culture and tradition and the activity of the healthy population is good. So health, in fact, you could argue from a utility standpoint that your opposition being unhealthy is a good for society. That keeping your opposition, your opposing view, completely in an unhealthy cycle and weak, unable to procreate, that's good. You could argue that.
I've tried to blow it up. What I do have are all of the papers I'm going to...
You're not going to get that from Josh, though. This guy, God bless him. He's not going to have these counters.
Talk about here. We can look at any of them, so you know I'm not cherry picking and all this data exists. Okay. What he's done, he started off by looking at all the developed countries in the world with high standards of living, and he's taken data to look at which country has the strongest belief in God, and I've coloured in America here. Right, this is the strongest belief in God and the lowest acceptance of evolution. This here is again the lowest acceptance of evolution and people who go to church.
Sorry, Culture Cats, you got a problem. Denying evolution would have to be something downstream from evolution. So it doesn't say anything, right? To deny evolution, well, Culture Cats, it's really simple. I don't think Josh is going to bring this up. But if you're going to use the denial of evolution as some indicator, first of all, denying evolution would itself be selected for. And it would necessarily have to be from an evolutionary view. Further, it happens to be the case, Culture Cats, that people who deny evolution, who are theistic in general, but not just Christian, but just like generally theistic, they reproduce more. So isn't it weird that the correlation that you're trying to draw as a defect to say people who deny evolution produce X, they also produce more babies. So, you know, it's kind of funny that the people who deny evolution from the evolutionary view, Culture Cats, are actually superior. They're actually more evolutionarily fit than people who accept evolution. Why is that? You know what I mean? Why is that? That's certainly interesting to look at if you're going to just do correlation.
Several times a month, so it's again, practically right there at the top. And down here, those who...
Culture Cat says, I'm just looking at the data that describes a society and looking to see if Christianity's benefited. Yeah, well, that might work against this guy, Culture Cats. I already off the bat know Josh is not, he's actually not even arguing from the best angle at all. But the question is like, Christianity has benefited. Benefit in what way? You're looking at health right now, right? Just one thing. Well, yes, it would probably, for any worldview that's organizing a society, a healthy society would probably be beneficial. But a healthy society would also be beneficial to a society that you disagreed with. So it's just like a starting point. But another starting point would be, wouldn't you argue, Culture Cats, that one of the preconditions for a society to determine whether or not it's beneficial, its views are beneficial, its practices are beneficial, if you actually had a society, like you need a society to make this argument either way. The problem is, from a secular view, This is a real killer, Culture Cats. From a purely secular view, Culture Cats, you don't have a duty to reproduce the next generation. You don't have a duty. There's no duties under secularism at all. I would just argue, really, plain and simple, a culture, a society, a worldview that adopts duties, especially duties to reproduce and procreate and produce the next generation, that's already a better society than one that doesn't have that duty already. Why? Because it's a necessary condition. It's a necessary condition for the next generation. You have to have a generation.
Take the Bible literally, which would imply Christianity, right? Otherwise, it would say the Quran or the Torah or whatever. Pray at least 7 times a week. We can see that America is a hugely religious country. There is absolutely no doubt that of all the developed countries in the world, Christianity has a big hold on America. So then we can start to ask ourselves questions. How, if
Christians have duties, we gear ourselves toward D-U-T-I-E-S, and you guys gear yourselves toward duty. Different duty, same sound.
Christianity is prevalent.
You guys, secularism leads to butts. Christianity leads to civilization.
So prevalent in the society that is that we find in America. What does that society look like? Is it being benefited? So all I'm doing is looking at data. That's all I'm doing. So we click here and we can look at the suicide rate.
The prompt is Christianity good for society? Simple prompt requires us to look at society. No, it requires a standard for good. But your opponent here, no offense to him, but he's not bad. He's not in a good position, right? To determine what's good for society is a worldview that has a standard for what good is. Not even morally good, just generally speaking. Like, you don't even need to make a moral meta-ethical claim in the sense of good, right? We don't even need that, right? Birth rate is not equal to fitness. Well, from an evolutionary view, if fitness is the ability to reproduce effectively, then it would be a variable. Of course it would be. I don't know what you're talking about, Nitty. Of course it would be. From a strict evolutionary view, organisms that reproduce are more likely to survive the selection process, you call it, than ones that don't. What are you talking about? How could you even say that? So yeah, Culture Cats, the prompt, is Christianity good? Well, even if you guys agreed on what's good for society, the Christian view would still win out against the secular view. You know why? Because a secularist, I actually mentioned this in your chat and you guys didn't respond. Hopefully I can move some people over to your channel, Culture Cats, because currently you have a lot of unthinking secularists who don't properly know how to engage in arguments. But the question was to you, Culture Cats, is, okay, well, if a secularist, if Culture Cats himself, right? If Culture Cats himself decided he wanted to adopt the Christian ethical system because he thought it was better for society, then it's no longer a dialectic of secularism versus Christian, because secularists have no standard for being secularists. The fact that secularism could include a bunch of people adopting a Christian view into policy, into how you organize society, but doesn't believe any of the views, it doesn't believe any of the doctrine, doesn't really do any of it, but they want to adopt it. There's plenty of secularists who already do that, by the way. So the question becomes, wait a second, is that Christianity being better for society from a secularist position?
Right, for 15 to 24-year-olds. And we can see that, again, America I've covered up here, is about halfway. So in a society that is the most Christian Western nation, we're about middle for suicides for 15 to 24 years old, which kind of like...
Your channel's awesome. Your channel's okay. I mean, you could probably reach out more to general theists because you have humor. You could be potentially liked by theists, but your culture is really low tier still. Culture Cats, your culture is low tier. It's like anti-theists. That's the problem. Most of your culture is anti-theists. At least from what I've seen in the responses, they're like this dogmatic. Those damn theists, these we gotta evolve past this already. It's like, just stop it. Nitty, overpopulation or structural oppression aren't a thing. Yeah, you couldn't actually argue that overpopulation for humans at this time is a thing. Yeah, it's possible. It's possible, Nitty, but the problem is in a hypothetical, not even a hypothetical, Nitty, currently we're underpopulation. So yeah, you could look at nature and say, okay, well, if you have an overpopulation of wolves or this or that, it can cause some problems, ecological problems. But there's no such thing as better in nature, Nitty. Do you understand? There's no better. Like there's nothing bad in pure nature, Nitty, for overpopulation in pure nature. Again, a point for the Christian. So you're like, well, look, Jim Bob, overpopulation could be a thing. Well, you'd have to demonstrate that with humans, and you can't. But if you demonstrate it in the animal kingdom, which you're making a distinction when you say what's better for society, you're already outside the realm of animal. But the irony is that there is no better. There's nothing wrong with overpopulation inside just pure nature, Nitty. You're already importing a Christian view that humans are unique. We're a unique beast animal. We're a unique ape. George Floyd was an ape, but he was a special ape. Dude, you can't even tell me what's wrong with overpopulation and extinction from a human perspective, whether it was humans or deer or anything else. More importing from the secularist, Nitty, importing metaphysics and some sort of value judgment about human beings that doesn't exist in nature. What's wrong with any of it, dude? Nothing. Not a damn thing. Why is overpopulation a bad thing? Why keep a society afloat at all from a secular view? You don't have a reason. You have no reason why we ought not to just be extinct, dude. Why is it that all of the extinction cults are all not Christian? Who think, why is it that it's a secular view that leads to that we should annihilate all humans because we're the problem? Why is that? Why is that?
Would book the trend.
You made no value claims? No, but to a point to population is a problem. You're already assuming overpopulation is a bad thing, right? On what basis?
That we would expect. So yeah, I'm not going to go through all these. Essentially, we can come back to them, but essentially, the kind of middle of the road for suicide. Under 5-year-old mortality rate. Here's America, really high, right at the very top. And again, correlated with absolute belief in God, right here at the top. Attending church several times a month. This is
mortality rate. Are we including abortion? Notice that they don't include abortion in reference to like mortality rate and the distinction between other countries.
This is the x-axis we're looking at here. The y-axis is the mortality. The x-axis is attendance in church. And what we actually see is America, again, has this very strong link between a very strong faith, but a really high child mortality for kids under 5 years old. Again, that would book the trend. If Christianity is good for society, if it's helping create a better, healthier nation, we wouldn't expect America to have one of the leading under 5 child mortality rates. We can go on to life expectancy.
That would have zero to do with, perhaps zero to do with the secular view or the Christian view, Culture Cats. That's called a sharpshooter fallacy.
And we can see it's right down here. So what effect is this ultra-Christian country benefiting from when it comes to life expectancy? Why are they so low? And again, absolute belief in God on the x-axis, they're right there at the top. So why is the life expectancy so low? Gonorrhea for all ages. Down here is all the other countries.
Again, life expectancy, regardless of your faith, looking at the culture of a society and the level of abundance in food, types of food, you don't need to maintain a healthy lifestyle, actually. Like, in a sense, like the secularist usually argues that development itself, scientific medicinal development, is a product of secularism and abandoning miracles and these kinds of other things they'll claim we rely on. But then again, unhealthy people from that view can live longer, right? Like, you could live longer with bad behavior now because of medical intervention.
All of them, right? Here's America. Massively higher rates of gonorrhea per 100,000 people.
You didn't say the Earth was overpopulated? I know you didn't say that. You're just saying overpopulation is a thing. Well, yeah, it's a thing in the animal kingdom, right? That's a thing. But when you're under population, right, replacement nitty, which we are now, we're not the only ones. You can't really say, but overpopulation. Well, overpopulation from a human perspective has never really been observed. And it's really a human-centric view to intervene on population overgrowth among the animal kingdom. It's still a human-centric view that's being imposed. Why?
Massively. That's for all ages. 15 to 19-year-olds. What 15-year-olds are getting gonorrhea? But again, in America here, and by the way, I'm not using this to slag America off. This is just the data I'm found. I'm trying to, I haven't got anything against America in case anyone thinks that. But again, taking the Bible literally, and here's the rates for gonorrhea. So how exactly is it benefiting the society? All ages for syphilis. Right, syphilis. This is all the other countries, all the other Western developed countries. Here's America, right up here, massively higher. So what benefit is there from the religion? And again, we can see down here, those that take the Bible literally, America are right up here with syphilis for 15 to 19-year-olds. So you might say, well, okay, you're looking at the country as a whole, but there might be other reasons that separate America.
Yeah, all of these are just correlative. They might be causal or might not be, but you didn't really establish anything here at Culture Cats. Anyone who's learned statistics, you can make statistics say anything. In fact, Culture Cats, if you were super rigorous with your own presentation and honest, not that you would do it in this debate because that's not the purpose, but Culture Cats, you can go back to the drawing board and the same methodology, you could establish correlations in the opposite view easily, right? That's why looking at stats and data is kind of irrelevant unless you agree first on what's considered good. What's good?
From other countries that could lead to that. So let's go a little bit more granular and get into just looking at America.
It's not a good argument.
And the data that you can find on this website, again, I'll show you the source for every data I'm going to talk about today, is down here. The CDC, the FBI Crime Reporting Unit, all of it down here. This is where all the data comes from, you're about to see. And this compares the most Christian states in America with the rest of America. So you would imagine that, okay, America suffers in a lot of areas, but surely if Christianity is benefiting society, those societies with the highest prevalence of Christianity would fare better. However, they've got the highest teen birth rates, the highest percentages of unwed mothers.
This is just like fallacious in itself. He's just saying, he's arguing from the perspective of that his opponent is saying America is a Christian nation or something. Like, it's like it itself is the embodiment of Christianity or something like this, which I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that at all.
In America, in all of these, let's have a look. Domestic violence. These, again, are the highest, among the highest percentages of Christians in the state. They are also among the highest that have domestic.
Problem is, Josh here won't have a good counter to this. He's just going to, wait, Culture Cats, just help me skip along. Is this just going to be you interpreting stats from your view and him interpreting stats from his view? Is that what we're going to do?
Domestic violence, infant mortality, religion restricting the use of contraception, child sexual abuse.
Oh man, this is not a good one. Culture Cats, I don't think Josh will have this for you, but sexual abuse is actually higher in America in the very much secular run public education system by a lot. Like, we're talking 100 times. Did you know that? So if Culture Cats, if this guy was prepared, he would just counter this and be like, wait a second. First of all, you're looking at Germany here. Well, that's irrelevant. Second of all, we're looking at, if you're going to look at sexual abuse and make a correlation between sexual abuse and communities, you have to consider that public education itself is one of the communities, right? The public school system outranks all of the churches, all of them, in abuse. By like 100 times.
This one's from Germany. I couldn't find one from America here. This one's interesting. So what this paper did from America is it took from Germany, is it took Christian communities in Germany, mainly Catholic and Protestant, and it looked at the number, just the outright number of child abuse investigations, and then those that are non-religious affiliated in different institutions.
Yeah, that's a good one, Jay. I don't think that'll be brought up in this because this is a philosophical argument, but it's true. If Culture Cat says, you guys deny evolution, but then he points to disease as like a bad thing. Well, how would you know, Culture Cats, that all of the remedies you have for diseases are actually inhibiting a necessary response to crisis, a critical crisis? What I mean by that is that the view of evolution, that if your view is that this introduction of diseases could facilitate a response, a natural response to the disease, then when you inhibit that process, are you inhibiting, isn't that anti-evolution, right? On what basis is some countering nature doing its thing acceptable, and when is it denying? You're like, oh, you're denying the evolutionary process. You're getting in the way of it. You wouldn't know, right? You could never know that from their view.
Institutions. And what it found was a 50-50 split. So there was just as many allegations of child abuse in the Christian community, Christian institutions, as there were in the non-Christian institutions. However, we have to take into context here that this isn't pro rata. These are raw numbers. The Christian institutions include schools. Everybody goes to school.
You see, the problem here, Katz, is that the Christian would be honest with you and say, look, we can reverse that and say it's all secular schools that have 100 times more abuse. But we're at least an honest one would say this. No, you're going to see an increase of abuse wherever there are children. More children, more predators. More children, more predators, whether it's in church or it's in public schools. You're going to draw out more people concentrated on and focusing on the children to attack. So you're going to look at where the children are. That's more reasonable. Still says nothing about secularism or Christianity. It says more to do with where you would find a high number of children. And because of high number data set, a sample set of children, you're going to find certain things increased, right? That's why it's kind of irrelevant.
All of the children are included in the non-religious, whereas the those including the religion, so maybe Sunday school, church, etc., they are going to have access to far fewer children. So why are they abusing kids at a much higher rate?
They're not. That's a lie. If you're looking at the rates, the reported rates, it's 100 times higher, dude. I don't know where you're getting these stats. It's totally false.
And interestingly as well, they seem to have a bit of a taste for boys. If you look at the non-religious institutions, it's kind of almost a 50-50 split between abusing girls and boys. But in the Christian, it kind of like leans.
Yeah, that's because the structure of a Christian church, the boys in particular would be more likely to be in private locations with abusers, not girls. The way the church hierarchy and the clergy and the whole system of the church is structured would produce this. It's not an anomaly. It's not like, why? We know why. That's like saying, like, at the all-girls, at the all-boys school, it seems to be the case that there's an increase in abuse against boys. At the all-boys school, wow. We're really thinking now. No offense, Culture Cats, but this is retarded.
What would you say if I told you I was mentally retarded?
Get it together, chat. Yeah, for real, Suzanne. You got a woman paying your taxes? Unbelievable. You guys call yourself base chads?
There's a lot more boys being abused. So again, why should that happen in Christian institutions? Again, there's some of the data. I'm not going to go over it now, but it's if Josh wants to question any of this. We have this paper here. But why would we need a big investigation? How long have I got left, dude?
I think we're going for about 11, 12 minutes. So
Oh,
you've got one
goodness
really.
gracious.
Okay.
He's pulling data from America, and America. Obviously, we do have a lot of Christians in America, but there's a plethora of different religions in America, and there's a plethora of different problems and issues in America that are secular issues. They're not Christian issues. So that's what I would say. But Conspiracy Cats, you said that you've never debated the subject. I haven't debated it either. So right now, I think we're just having a good back and forth and a good discussion. I think we're going to treat each other with respect and kindness, which I totally appreciate. A lot different than what I'm used to from
Yeah,
other
that's right.
secular
That's right.
people that I debate. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, Cats, your turn for a response.
How about this for divine intervention? Now, you don't know why that's divine intervention. I was just thinking while I was thinking about my rebuttal to what you said. You'll say that's crazy. That's crazy. So this is a rebuttal. It's going to look like it isn't when it starts off. But I was thinking about Star Wars recently, right? And thinking about The Last Jedi. And that is so shit. Like, that is so shit. And I watched The Last Jedi and I walked away and I was like, that isn't Star Wars, right? In real Star Wars, Luke Skywalker isn't some kind of loser drinking green titty milk.
It's worse, Cats. In real Star Wars, Luke Skywalker is a pathetic, whiny little bitch boy. He's a rebellious little whiny like a woke tard, right? I mean, think about it. Think about it. The dark side is the one that orders and keeps the order in society. And the rebellion, what do they hang out with Ewoks? They're at freaking Burning Man. They look at robots and animals as equal. No, Luke Skywalker is just like a fatherless little kid, little child, little brat. He's a little brat too. Yeah, feeling like it too.
From a sea lion, he doesn't get outshone by Rey, who's only had like 2 seconds of training in the Force.
Yeah, that's called woke feminism. Why don't you call it what it is, Cats? What are you afraid you're going to get canceled? That's called woke feminism. Yeah, let's present the chick who can immediately take on the level of Jedi as someone else who's lived a whole life of it. Yeah, unbelievable. Unbelievable. You're just afraid.
That is a big super chat.
You're afraid, Culture Cats, to be canceled by your audience because they're all pro-feminist woke-tards. Darkseid is base, the Jedi stole babies. Yeah, the whole thing is a counter. Like, the Jedi, the dark side, the Empire actually has a positive position, like Christianity. The Rebellion has no positive position. They're the Proddies. They're the counter, right? They're the Jews. Let's face it. Let's face it. Let's just say what it is.
Cool it with the anti-Semitic remarks.
The whole Rebellion, they're like, oh, you're hurting me. And you're like, do you have a replacement? What? What is your replacement, Luke Skywalker? What is it? Oh, just egalitarianism. Who rules? And by what standard? Just not those guys. Unbelievable.
Han Solo.
Thank you so much for that big super chat.
Isn't just going to walk onto the end of a lightsaber. He's better than that. That was the first one, wasn't it? I was like, real Star Wars isn't The Last Jedi, because The Last Jedi is so wank. It's rubbish. But you know what? That's what we got. That is what we've got. We got The Last Jedi. That is Star Wars.
George Lucas.
Now, the analogy here is a lot of what Josh is saying is he's referring to the Bible and the beliefs of a true Christian. That there are things happening in society that don't represent his Christian beliefs and that he doesn't believe come from the Bible. Fully respect that. Fully respect that.
Definitely.
Okay? Not a problem.
Definitely.
But this debate is about Christianity in society.
There's probably a little like Freemasonry in there too.
And what we've got is The Last Jedi, right? We have
in egalitarianism far, far away, yeah.
Of a religion that is structured in a certain way with a certain hierarchy, made up of whatever infrastructure it's got that is separate from the Bible. It's separate from how maybe Josh might interpret the Word of God, or
it's not separate. Cats. Any society that has a foundation of order assumes, first off the bat, that humans have some type of dignity. I mean, that's the key. It's really the metaphysics that will get the secularists in a corner here. Now, Josh probably won't, maybe he doesn't argue this. I didn't watch this whole thing, Culture Cats. Do you guys cover anything like, I don't know, why are we valuing humans to begin with? From a purely evolutionary standpoint, I could just declare arbitrarily that another group of humans are just an invasive type of human, and I should get rid of them. From the secular view, there's nothing really wrong with that. You can just declare that's a secular view. Stalin, that was a secular view. French Revolution, that was a secular view. On what basis is it not secular?
Or the instructions coming out of the Bible. The religion of Christianity is separate from that. The religion of Christianity we've got is kind of like the Last Jedi. So it's okay to say, but the Bible doesn't, teach this, this, and this. And that might all be true. I've got to defer to you on that. I don't read the Bible. And if you tell me the Bible teaches something, I'm going to believe you. I'm not going to argue with it because I don't know. But what we have in society is what I showed you with those statistics. That is the effect that the organized religion that is.
Okay. The effect of organized religion is what gave you basically a constitutional republic, Cats. Now, I don't know, you guys. I mean, look at you guys, Cats. You live in Britain. You have nothing. You're getting taken over by Islam. How can secularism fight Islam, honestly? Tell me. Perfect example, honestly. You can introduce a common enemy to Cats in this debate. Josh is not going to do that, I assume. Introduce a common enemy. An enemy to the better society. So you have two societies. One's Christian and one's secular. You say the secular is a good society. You say the Christian is a good society for its different reasons. You have a common enemy, Islam. Okay? You have a secular-run country called the United Kingdom at this point. And it has no basis. It has no standard. It has no reason to fight Islam. In fact, you guys are failing at it because you have no standard to fight it. You have no identity. That's another aspect of Christian identity. Having a cohesive in-group identity is better for society than not having one, having it splintered. That's a key argument against secularism, is that secularism necessarily leads to individualism and fractions the identity so that defending the thing called the nation no longer has a universal identity. It's just this fractured thing. That's secularism for you. Now, if someone said, well, you guys have that, you have 50,000 denominations. Yeah, even if we granted you that, which we don't, but colloquially, we'd say, yeah, that's not a good thing. You agree with us. Christianity can actually metaphysically justify, from its worldview, force and defense against Islam. You can't. In fact, you do the opposite. The study uses 50 years long about Christians. When you get into it, you can show that more essay reports in one California school district in 1 year. Yeah, you see that, Culture Cats, if you're still here? When you look at the data over time, one Californian school has more essay. One school. That's crazy.
Christianity has. So that is what we've got. So I'll just end this by saying it might be a case that actually we come to some kind of agreement here, that the disagreement is in the definition of Christianity, where I'm talking about the religion as it is, as we've got, as we see it when we look around. And Josh is maybe coming from an idealistic version of what he would like Christianity to be, which allows him to discount certain practices as being Christian practices. And if that's what we come to, that's what we come to. That's fine. But that's. Oh yeah, and there was one other thing. Yeah, sorry. The reason I said that is because he, in his opening, he was talking about people doing things in the name of Christianity, but actually they were just saying it under the umbrella of Christianity. They weren't really Christians. So that's where that came in. And the other thing is just 10 seconds. He talked about what Christianity did for the world historically. Brilliant. Loads of things happened historically where.
Jim Bob, half black hair, cat lady culture. So child abuse is an effect of Christianity. Guess if we got rid of Christianity, child abuse would go away.
Right.
Moreover, without objective morality, your opposition to child abuse is just an opinion.
That's right. Also, Culture Cats, probably a topic you don't touch, but like people who want to groom their children into acting like the opposite sex and making them believe that. Is that child abuse? Or is that just liberty? Is that some topic that you're afraid to cover, Katz, because you'll get attacked and canceled by your own cult?
And loads of really good things when virtually everybody was a Christian. But also those things happened when we didn't have electricity, when we didn't have the internet. So I'm not going to say, oh, wasn't it brilliant when nobody had the internet and that gave us universities? Do you know what I mean? Like it's just history. It's just the way things were. So I'm not going to put too much stock in that. But that's my friendly rebuttal.
In your
just, do you think everybody
to church there's a less suicide rate than people that are secular, right?
Why is suicide bad? You see what I'm saying? Why is Josh not asking him, look, you guys don't even believe from a secular view that suicide is bad? Katz, what are you talking about, Katz? Katz, you're in the chat. Why is suicide bad from a secular view? In fact, a lot of secularists advocate for a type of suicide. Why would it be bad? There's nothing that's violated under a secular view of taking your own life. Why is that bad? There are secular countries that develop self-deletion pods. It's considered a massive advantage to society. Can you tell me for a second, Culture Cats? Just like for a second, ignore the chat for a second, Culture Cats. Josh isn't asking you a really important question here. Why is suicide itself a bad metric? Like why is an increased suicide bad from a secular position? It can't be. How could that be bad?
But a lot of the stuff that you said, like it doesn't pertain to what the Bible teaches. So how could you place these things as something that Christianity has an effect on society? For example, like it doesn't.
Josh, what are you doing, dude? What are you doing? He just gave you a softball, and he's like, well, Christianity doesn't say that. What are you doing? Culture Cats literally gave you a softball layup, like straight up balloon, like just to pop. And you're like, well, let's look at the Bible when it says. Of course it's bad. I said, why is it bad?
With all the messed up things on the McAfee-Stein files being exposed, it's fair to say that lack of Christianity doesn't actually improve anything. In fact, it's proof that anti-Christianity goblins are the most evil and wicked people around.
Yeah. Culture Cats with a very predictable response here in the chat here. Actually, I'm surprised at your response. It's predictable for most seculars, but in this case, I'm really surprised. I'm disappointed in you, in fact. Here I thought you were someone who had maybe some advanced cognitive skills, some thinking. You know, you're quick on your feet. You know, you're rhetorically fun. You got some comedic chops here and there. And here you go, just falling flat with all of us. Just complete dishonor. I mean, like the clothes have just come off, and now everything I thought and hoped for you is gone in a flash, in a second. It's over. Why is self-deletion bad from a secular view? Of course it's bad, LOL. Of course it's bad, LOL. Well, I mean, it's bad, LOL. Okay, well, I'm glad you answered. I'm glad we got an answer from you.
Teach about having sex outside of marriage. It doesn't.
I'm reviewing it Thursday night. Why don't you just answer the question now? Do you agree that just saying it's bad is not a good answer of why it's bad? We get that your claim it's bad. The justification of why it's bad from a secular view, I'm not getting here. So it sounds like you're running. You're going to run and review it on a different night? Dude, you're right here right now. You can answer this for us right now. Why is it bad? Because I'm going to run to Thursday. Why? Because I'm running to Thursday. Of course it's bad. Why? There are secularists who say it's not bad. What are you talking about? How could it be bad?
Doesn't teach about doing sexual abuse. So how does that having an effect on?
This is a perfect example why Josh here, total failure in a response to Culture Cats. Why are you assuming from the secular view, Josh, that suicide is bad? You see what just happened with Culture Cats? He can't answer this. He, even on Thursday, when he goes back home and tries to make like a sort of rhetorical fun exchange, he's going to do this. Watch, I'll predict it before he even makes it. I'm going to tell him what he's going to make, and he's not even going to take it into account. He's going to go, here we go, I got Jim Bob, who actually needs to be told why suicide is bad. Can you imagine someone who needs to be told why it's bad? That's all he's going to say. Not with a terrible British accent like I have, but he's going to say that. He's going to just assume, oh, you need a reason to tell you why this is bad? Yeah, you do.
On society from Christianity when it's not even something the Bible teaches? I would ask that.
Oh, God. Josh, fail. Yes, that's a matter of necessity, that we need to think there's only one way, okay? Because we don't understand it. And we have a remnant. We have this artifact of your culture, and Southern draws, antebellum draws, and rap culture. Do you know that the completely disintegrated format of speaking we call rap, Ebonic type culture slang, right? Urban slang, is actually a derivative of British dialect. So we can blame you guys for the disintegration of how we talk in America. If secularists thought it was truly bad, they wouldn't be making self-deletion pods. That's right. Why are the self-deletion pods bad, Culture Cats? Huh? Why are they bad, Culture Cats? Why is it bad to crawl into a pod, listen to some Nirvana, and press go on the gas? Why is it bad? Bruv? Why is it bad? How's that? Is that better? Why is it bad? Culture Cat says, is the only reason you are against suicide is because you believe in God? Without your belief, would you be all for it? It's not a matter of being all for it or not. There would be nothing wrong with it. They're totally different questions. Whether or not I'm for it or against it is irrelevant to the question of whether or not it's objectively bad. Is it objectively bad? The Christian view poses a metaphysic to justify under the Christian view how it's consistent that it would be a bad thing. That would be an act against yourself, an act against God, an act against something from the Christian view that is valued, right? The question isn't whether or not you'd be for it or not. That's irrelevant.
Jim Bob, half black. Oh, good cats, here, take this challenge with me. Let me clear my throat and ask this plainly. Ak himem kadhe. Would it be wrong for a person of sound mind to decide to take their own life?
That's right. That's the question. And this is a tu quoque fallacy. Well, you say tu quoque, oi. Tu quoque, oi. You've got fallacy. Fallacy, oi. Anyway, this is irrelevant, Culture Cats. Let's say Christianity is false. Let's say it doesn't even exist. You still have avoided the question under a secular view, which is the view that you think is truth. All the religions are made up. Why is self-deletion wrong? We're still waiting for a ... answer.
So I think, having listened to everything you said, I think there is a definitional issue here. Definitional, is that a word? The way we define it? I am going to answer that, but can I just check? Do you think everybody who believes, everybody who calls themselves a Christian acts in the way the Bible, in the way that you suggest the Bible?
Oh, terrible. Terrible. I don't even know if I could listen anymore because Josh here You see, Culture Cat's angle is so bad, but because Josh is so bad, Culture Cats is doing better than Josh. By what I've seen so far, I would argue that Culture Cats probably, quote, wins this debate, unfortunately. It's unfortunate, but that's Dems the, what do they say? Dems the ropes? I don't even know this. I don't even know the slogan. Who am I? Because the GDP go down. Was it bad, Culture? Culture Cats, was it bad? Furthermore, Josh could have taken the angle rights. I'm sure Culture Cats, right? He believes in rights, right? Culture Cats, you believe in human rights? Where'd he go? I will answer your questions. Just give me a week where I can make a video. I'll make videos. I'll stay in your chat, but I want to make videos first. I'll make it so you can answer in real time by making a video. I eat eggs with a tiny spoon. We haven't figured out how to eat hard-boiled eggs without propping it up on a pedestal and eating it with a spoon. Oh, the rights argument? I didn't make an argument. I asked you a simple question. Notice how you're still not engaging. Just rhetoric, LOLs. This doesn't make you look good. Do you believe human rights exist? Oh, the human rights argument? Come on, man. Come on, man. This isn't good for you. This isn't good for you're turning into a lolcow in real time, bro. I don't want that for you. I'm giving you a chance. Do you believe in human rights? Oh, the human rights argument. LOL. Come on, man. Took the trolley to the holly it was raining and needed brolly. He's in the files. Well, this just shows, like, when you ask them direct questions, they don't like it. They're rather, Culture Cats, I think you've mostly been debating, like, flat earth stuff. This is a thing that happened, right? The whole flat earth community and the opposition and like, that kind of duel that was going on ended, right? It just kind of collapsed on itself. Fruitless. Necessarily, it needs to collapse anyway. But all of these people coming out of that world are getting into cultural, political spheres, but they're not ready. Culture Cats is not ready, just like Mark Reed wasn't ready, just like Craig, Fight the Flat Earth Craig. They're not ready to jump into this. So they're showing up in my chat or they're doing videos, but they're not ready. They've never thought about these questions. And this is what they say, Philbro, right? This is their cope, right? Cope's in the chat. Cope's in the chat. So this is where the Philbro starts. No, I just asked you a question. When you say, do you believe God exists? And I say yes, and I go, why? And you say, why? I say why. When I ask you, do you believe rights exist? You don't answer. You instead say Philbro. Talking about not being able to touch rights because they don't exist? Well, I mean, it's a fair question. Why do you, on what basis from a secular view do you justify human rights? I didn't ask what the ontology was yet. Okay? This is bad for you. I'm just demonstrating how easy it is to counter your assumptions. You're going to argue X is bad for society, maybe from a position of outcomes, or maybe you'll take an approach of violation of like autonomy or rights, right? It was a simple question, Cats. Do you believe human rights exist? And the fact that you refuse to answer this question demonstrates exactly where you stand. You know it. You know you don't have a justification. You know it. So you have to spurg and say Philbro stuff instead of answering the question. You know, a good faith interlocutor or even someone who's just being asked a question just says, yeah, you know what? I don't know if I believe in human rights. I don't know. I don't know if I do. Maybe they're unjust. Like, at least Planet Peterson, shout out to Peterson, admitted on a stream. He said, I have no justification for human rights at all. Got nothing. I got nothing. So what can he say about it? Nothing. They are described on paper. So is religious sin. You just ended it, dude. They exist on paper. So does Scripture. You understand? This is why you're not ready to debate this stuff, at least against me. You can stick to people like Josh. I highly recommend it for you. But by your standard, I could describe on paper Christian law. You know? The Communist Manifesto is described on paper. So it's justified because it's on paper? Cool. Christian law, if I describe it on paper, it's justified. You see how easy that was? Do you understand what a mess you're in? You're in a mess. So, there you go. That's why Josh here, I mean, God bless him. Just super low tier, dude. Low tier. It's just low tier. I just drew a unicorn. Yeah, I just drew. It's on paper. It's on paper. That's amazing. It's on paper. There you go. It's settled. Things on paper. Do you know that when I debated Mark Reed, he basically took the same argument? He said, well, I have a justification for believing in rights because it's a social construct. I said, don't you believe that the Christian theology itself is a social construct? He said, yeah, it's a social construct. That's the end of it. That's the end of it. Let's move back over to evolution real quick because that was way too quick. Oh boy, this guy writes a huge paragraph, man. What's with you guys? What is with you guys? With the massive copy paste essays, dude. Unbelievable, like these people. Look at this comment. Look at this comment. Look at this. This is what I have to deal with. This is what I have to deal with. Look at that. You gotta be kidding me. You people suck. Oh, man. Mark destroyed me. Mark destroyed me how? More claims, no justification. Why don't you call in right now? Let's do this. Mark destroyed me on what? Dude, I gave him a defeater. I'll bring it up right now. You're such a maggot, dude. You're such a little maggot, aren't you? I knew it. I knew it. Here, let's find it right now. Mark destroyed me. The question, if this is the debate you're talking about. Now, there was 2 debates. I think I debated Mark Reed on evolution, I think. And I also debated him on whether or not the belief in God is rational. I will show you right now, and you won't be able to say anything about it. Just to skip ahead, right? Because whatever trick you're going to try to do on your stream, you're going to avoid this section. I'm going to make sure you see this section. You little pig snake weasel. You little filthy slimy pig snake, you. I see you. I see you. You just wait. You're not getting away with this. Where is it? Where's my little clip here? Mark Reed. What did he say? Was it a short? I forget. Where is it? Hold on a second. Maybe it was a short. Is it a short? You guys remember? Mark Reed. Hold on a second. Mark Reed. Where is it? I swear I posted a clip of it. "30 minutes. Where the hell is it? I swear I posted a clip of it. Is it gone? What happened? Where are you at? Where it be? Really? Huh. Anybody remember? Anybody? If you could find it real quick. It was really simple. He just said, you know, what constitutes a justified belief is essentially, from his view, a justified belief, from his view, is that rights are justified. It's a social construct. Really simple. That's what he said. It's simple. So I'm not sure what you're pointing to. But they always do this. They always say, "Oh, you got you got debate, you got wrecked," and you go, "How?" And they go, "You just did." I wish I found the clip though, because it was really a good clip. Let me see. Live videos. I'm still waiting on his answer. Culture Cats, do you believe in that human rights exist? Yes or no? Yes or nether? Which is it? Yay or nay? Simple question. It's always the simple questions that get these guys. They're like, "Why are you asking me simple questions? I hate that. Don't do that to me. You're mean. You believe in Spaghetti Monster. You're mean." Okay. Okay, here it is. Check it out, y'all. Ready? You ready, Culture Cats? Check it out. Watch closely.
Can you demonstrate that the God is a rational belief? And all we hear is this semantic.
I already demonstrated
games.
I already demonstrated it.
Oh, but if you get this and do this, then no, you
demonstrate it again. I'll demonstrate it again.
Yep.
Ready? Do you believe human rights is a rational belief?
Yes.
Okay. Do they actually exist?
Do they actually exist? Yes.
Well, really? They exist? Did you see one?
As a social construct.
Oh, okay. Okay. Does a belief in God actually exist as a social construct?
Does a belief in God actually exist as a social construct? Yes.
Cool. So it's rational to believe in God. Debate over.
No.
Nar. Dude, how could you... Look, Culture Cats, do you see the problem here? Do you understand how quickly that happened? Do you even know? Do you even know what just happened? Belief in rights is justified. It's a social construct. Are they justified to believe in? Is it justified true belief? Yeah. Nar. Cool. It's in the same category as rights then from your view. It has to be a justified belief. Nar. Unbelievable. That's why truly, atheists are in a type of cult because they don't question each other at this level. They don't do it. They just stay loyal. They're like anything but Christianity, anything but God, okay? Yeah, you say something stupid, that's fine. At least it's not Christian. It's like, you guys hate each other. You guys actually hate each other. I just demonstrated in one clip that it's impossible for you to say that Mark Reed wrecked me because he actually conceded the debate. Nar. So I'm still waiting on Culture Cats here. You know, he's fine doing a video, but he can't really just engage with what I'm asking directly, which says a lot. Says a lot about you. Still no answer on whether or not rights exist from his view. Do they exist? Oh, the rights argument, LOL. Okay. All right. It's on you, bro. That's on you, bro. All right. So anyway, so we're all the conspiracy theorists, right? All of our conspiratard brethren, were we all correct with Epstein? Is that what happened? Pretty sure that's what happened. Nar. He's a foul. Well, he hasn't studied any. He hasn't just gone into basic philosophy. He's like, he doesn't know where to stand on anything. He's never thought about this stuff. He's been stuck in like the flat earth, round earth debate spheres for so long that he's like, what is this other thing? What is happening? What is happening here? Josiah, thank you so much for the tenor. Do you ever feel like someone of these responses back at you are reminiscent of the kid sticking his tongue out and saying, "You're a poopy head"? Yes. Yes. Culture Cats, are you evolution? You're obviously an evolution proponent. Are you willing to debate evolution against me? Are you? Can you defend evolution at all? Or they don't know what philosophy is? Well, they can't even. At least Leo Phileas just was consistent. He was like, nothing exists. Like knowledge doesn't exist. Truth doesn't exist. Propositions don't actually exist. These are all like illusory. These are. They don't exist. None of it exists. Nada. Did you guys see Wood troll the Muslims? He got into a jumpsuit. Now, I don't know what it said. Some people said that it was actually like Arabic lettering, but it was Christian scripture, which probably would be an L for Wood, David Wood. But his intention was to wear the Quran as a jumpsuit, which is kind of funny. But I guess it was a misstep. If it's the case that he actually accidentally wore Christian scripture, that would be a problem. Yes. Yep. For the train. Culture Cat says, we will debate, but I'd rather debate more subjective stuff. Dude, that's hilarious. You're like a natural comedian, but you don't know. You'd rather debate subjective stuff? You don't understand evolution, as I'll be showing on my stream. Yeah, you can't defend evolution. So that's a no. So you can't object. You can't defend evolution, and you won't, but you'll do a stream about me, but you won't debate me on evolution. Weak sauce. Just totally weak. No, I'm just going to assert that it's objectively the case. Here, watch this. Hey, Culture Cats, are species objectively defined, or are they subjective? It's just, dude, it's such weak shit, dude. I have you right here, right now. You could jump on my stream, and you could sufficiently defend evolution from my questions. Very simple questions. And yet, instead, you're going to go, I'd rather debate something subjective, which doesn't even make sense, first of all. But second of all, you're already asserting that evolution, as you argue it, is objectively established. It's like total coward shit, dude. Total coward stuff. I'm glad a lot of people are seeing it, because other people who follow me who might engage with you in the future know right off the bat from this stream what you're like. And you're cowardly. Yeah, who needs debates when you can just assert the thing that you're trying to defend ultimately. Yeah. Terrible. Why don't you jump on my stream? You could start a stream right now. You're here right now. I don't know when you stream. I stream every day at the same time, generally speaking, and you're here right now. And you're going, why don't you jump on my stream? What's the difference? What's the difference? Here's the difference. When you stream, how many people are live? How many people are watching you when you do a live stream, cats? How many? Dude, you're such a coward. Jump on the stream, dude. I'll be nice. Jump in the Discord. Come on. You got this. You can do. Look, if you're confident in defending something you're assuming is established as objective fact, it should be really easy. Really easy to defend. And yet here you are going, well, no, you jump on my stream. No, you're here. Optics is not good for you, man. Not good for you. Jim Bob, I will debate evolution if Jim rescinds his comment that, well, I'm a LARP Christian. Well, I mean, I'd say you're probably a LARP Christian even if you didn't believe in evolution. But yeah, you can't defend a Christian view and an evolutionary view if you want to do that. If Katz is going to run away, he's going to run like a little cowardly cat. Fine. I'm here. I'm milking the comment section. Not anymore. Not anymore, buddy. If you're going to be bad faith, if you think you can defend evolution and you're saying, well, let's have a conversation, right now's the time. You can jump on right now. So you don't get to milk the conversation in the chat anymore. So you don't get to do that. Defend your evolutionary view from me, or we can't really do anything about it. It's well poisoning based on purely, I don't know what you mean, well poisoning. What do you mean? It's not poisoning the well. I've debated against people who call themselves Christians, and you're facing a philosophical undercutting defeater altogether. It's really simple. Now, coincidentally, the argument I levy against the so-called Christian who argues for an evolutionary view insofar as what a human is, it's the same argument levied against the non-Christian proponent. You have a problem with a universal category that doesn't exist. That's it. You can't justify it. You can't get there, okay? Has Michael Aronson? No, he's another coward. They're all cowards. They just stay safe. You know, I'm a good subject for them to engage with. It's fun. Then they make videos, but then they just like Erica Gibbons, who, for those of you who don't know, says this. This is an email, part of an email. I would suggest that for any debate with me, you familiarize yourself with basic terms surrounding the topic. I shouldn't have to explain the mechanisms of evolution. That's the debate. Explaining the mechanisms is the debate. Come on, culture cats, call in. Dude, this is your chance. How could you turn down a chance to own me? You get to own me right now. There's so many people. You can own me in front of almost 700 people, dude. Put me in my place. You can do that right now with just one call and 12 installments of $2.99. Scaredy cats. Scaredy cats. Scaredy cats. That's your new name, Matt. That's your new name. Scaredy cats. Yeah, you can go, dude. You can go live right now. You can go live right now and call in, and you could dual stream it right now. Thanks for the raid, Rob. Appreciate you. Come on. Yeah, their explanation doesn't work. They can't do it. They don't do it in a prepared debate. They can't do it in a live interaction. They can't do it in the chat. None of them. Not a damn thing. At least the other guy, the hominid guy, he can try to argue from a Christian perspective. Too many sissies? Yeah, tons of sissies on the left. That's correct. Coward cats. Yeah, it's a big look. We're right here. We can silence me once and for all. You could clip it. I mean, you could make me the lolcow that you say I am, right? Notice how he's going to argue, like he's still working on a video. He said Jim Bob's a lolcow, right? And yet, the chance to do that live in front of my own audience, to get the clip of me just failing, right? Rachel? Thank you, Rachel Wilson. Shout out to Rachel Wilson. 10 gifted memberships. Appreciate that. Hope to see you guys soon if we can figure out how to escape Colorado for a weekend. Thank you so much. No, I'm going to silence you. I'm going to turn you into a locale in my video that I do where you can't defend yourself. Make cats brave again. Come on, culture cats. You got this. Come on. It's right there. Look, the Discord is right there. It's just right there. It's just one click away. One little click away is right there. Oh, it's right there. All right. Well, in that case, I guess I'll have to wait for the other guy. Rachel stealing Andrew's wallet. Yeah, I actually love that. You know what I mean? It's great. It's great for me. Okay, now we know the character of culture cats, coward cats, scaredy cats. They say that if you read the Epstein files closely, you'll find out water is wet. I hate to say it, but I think it, as interesting and vindicating as it is, as far as justice is concerned, don't hold your evolved lungs. Before long, with everything going on over in the UK, that Nar will become Sarsar. That's right. Yeah, his entire culture is going away, is gone. It's dying. Poor guy. Did he run away? Yeah, of course he did. No, there he is. He's right there. Thanks for the Christian love. That's the cope, too. That doesn't work anymore, culture. Okay? That doesn't work here. That's like from 2016, dude. What are you doing? Your rhetoric is from 2016. Oh, no hate like Christian love. You don't even believe in love and hate. You don't even believe love and hate exist, dude. What are you talking about? There's no hate like Christian love. Dirt. You got kicked? You didn't get kicked. He's just muting you because you're not engaging with anything. You're the locale now. Just call in. Grow some balls. How do you say that in British? What do you guys call them again? I'll be nice, dude. I'll be nice. Grow some bollocks, or whatever you guys call balls. I wonder if he knows Obama's chef drowned 2 feet of water. Come on, dude. What do you got, shaved bollocks or something? Stop crying, dude. Call in. There's a whole Discord waiting for you. It will be nice. Sure, then I'll call into Nathan Oakley's show. What are we talking about? Nathan Oakley. He's irrelevant right now. What are you talking about? That's also from 2015 or whatever. What are you doing? Let's move along. I'm trying to help you along, dude. Don't you want to move out of the flat earth paradigm thing? Isn't that your whole goal, Culture Cats? Now's your chance. I just gave you the chance to move out of it. One step further away from that repetitive, monotonous dialect. Let's do it. Let's talk about evolution, okay? Come on, man. Just call in. It's not a big deal. Notice how I'm the one willing to talk and you're not. What does that say? What does that say? Unbelievable. He has one tool. Yeah, he does have one tool. Now, I have that tool too, but I don't only rest on it. But I'll never take the tool of mockery away from someone. But I'm going to ask Culture Cats to add to his tool belt. But he's not. He's not going to do it. I'm in charge here. You can come on my stream. Yeah, you're not a boss. It's over for you. It's over. You guys saw it here first, okay? He thinks he's in charge. Is funny. You're not. You're not in charge. You got nothing. All right, well, we'll move on. We know that Culture Cats is a coward, but did we know that before? Yes, we did. We knew that before. So, there you go. I'm just glad we could demonstrate it in real time, so this is good. Oh, well. We tried. Good on us. We gave it a shot. Are any of the debates available for modern day debate yet, or what? Because that's another thing that we could bring up if some of these things happen. Okay, dilemma. Ooh, the dilemma. I can't watch 2 hours of it. But Jake Brancalacetta, or whatever his name is, absolute disgrace, a blemish on Italian heritage. I'm assuming David Wood completely obliterated him because the Islamic dilemma is undefeated. There's no way of dealing with it. Whether you're Muslim or whether you're a Mormon, whether you're a sand Mormon or a real Muslim, there's nothing you can do about that. All right. No, he doesn't even know what an argument is. Culture Cats is all rhetoric. Go with that, dude. Dude, if you're going to be all rhetoric, just stick to videos. Don't debate people. Just do the videos like the other douchebags, right? Who's that guy? Who's that Welsh guy? Just do that stuff where you just do this like pithy, snarky, rhetorical commentary and you never get in the ring with anybody. You just hide behind your channel and your videos. Just stick to that. Peaky Blinders or whatever his name is. Yeah, just stick to that. Creepy Blinders or whatever. It's all the same shit with you guys. Just cowards. Sand Mormon, we're ascending. Taxes. Yeah, pay your taxes, folks. That's the thing is, like, if you're going to show that you won't engage with me, it doesn't matter what videos you make. I just won't even engage with them. There's nothing to engage with because you can't ever get to the bottleneck where you actually go head to head with somebody. If you're not going to do that, you're useless. You're useless. You're a useless eater, right? From this day on, Culture Cats will be known as the online as the coward who runs from debates. That's right. That's right. You guys seen it here. Okay. Well, how about the other dude? Is the evolution guy? Where is he? Hominid? Are you on the Discord? Is he in there? Might as well go over to that because at least he has the. At least he can debate, perhaps. So we'll see. Okay. So long, it was fun, Culture Cats, but we can't focus on you. Let me see if this guy is here.
There doesn't have to be one.
Hey, Jimbo.
Hey, is the Hominid Pro Evolution guy in here or no?
No, I don't think so. What's his username?
Something Hominids. He's a claimed Christian who's going to argue for evolution. All right, he's not in here.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And would you want us to move, or would you just have him in the live stream?
I would just hop in. I would just hop
There's a cow in
in.
my kitchen.
Actually, I would hop into the evolution one if he shows up. So, Hominid guy, if you want to do that, you know where to go. Okay, thanks, guys.
You're welcome.
Well, he's not there either. He's not there either. What a day. Scared. He's scared. He's scaredy cats. Ankle biters, yeah. We got a lot. Ba-da-bum, bomb. Oh well, we tried. What else? Keep looking at YouTube. I definitely wasn't, still not prepared. I don't even know if I'll get into it. I feel like I should just make more sketches if I'm going to cover things like the Epstein files. Like, just do something funny instead. Because, you know, that carcass has been eaten alive in the first week by better people than me. I mean, what can I do? What can I really offer the examination of the Epstein stuff? Not a damn thing. Yes, the world is run by evil people who, where money is no object, who are after living forever, and the only thing that can get them off is chewing on the dismembered limb of a Haitian boy. What can I say? His Evo bros won't share the beans. That's right, the beans and toast. Poor guy. Trying to help him. I kind of like the guy. I'm trying to help him. No hominid. No hominid. I'm going to start saying that. Love you, bro. No hominid. What times do I usually stream? 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time to about 3 sometimes. But it turns out some of these people, though, that are involved, it's really kind of interesting. You know, like Richard Dawkins. I used to make jokes about Richard Dawkins going into the Getty and going down the elevator 23 floors and having himself a little bit of a Haitian sludge pie. Yum, 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 yum. Yum, 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 yum. Now it's all sorts of people. Dark stuff. And once again, all the truther tards, all the dummies with the with the tightly fit aluminum head hats are right. No, there's never an apology ever. Ever. You affirm evolution, but you stream when I have it at work. Like your stuff, thanks. Yeah, I'm just, when someone says they affirm evolution, ultimately what it comes down to is once I ask them what they're affirming, they'll start with local and then they'll extrapolate. And there's always a threshold at which the extrapolation falls apart. It's really simple. They start with something local and microbial, and they'll start with adaptation, and then they'll go like far out and they'll be like, well, that has to be, and then you go, what are you even referring to? What is it you actually think is happening here? Well, it's like, bacteria is affected by introducing external things, external stimuli, and it figures out how to adapt to the external stimuli. So therefore, the Pakicetus became a whale. What? That's crazy. Man, that's crazy. Oh, man. You don't actually believe that. You don't actually believe that, do you? It's cuckoo stuff. Total cuckoo stuff. That's why they're having such a hard time with me. You know what I mean? They don't know what to do. They don't know what to do with me. How do you say balls in Arabic? I mean English. In English. What about the TikTokaholic? Yeah. One angle? Yeah. Well, I should just... the angle I should take is always, like, a fun, animated angle, honestly. Thanks, Unhitbone. 7. 13 minutes for 3 more, y'all. All right. What else we got here? Oh, Johnny Chang is live. Whew. My favorite charlatan. Oh, this should that once in a while I'll look at this guy and just be like, all right, well, once in a while I just gotta look. This guy, so full of shit.
No, we're not better than anybody. Yes, horizontally, right? Side by side. Yes, you're better than me. I'm better than you. There's different things, sure. But you're not supposed to compare horizontally. You're supposed to compare vertically. Because we don't stand in front of others. We stand in front of God. And if we stand in front of God, all of us fall short. The issue that Satan has done is he's made us compare to each other, seeing others as the enemy, so that we miss the true enemy, which is him.
Yeah. Let me translate that for you. I run a scam teaching false doctrine at a corporate level. I run game on you. And you guys give me a bunch of money, and I get wealthy, and I'm telling you not to compare yourselves to me. We get it, Johnny. We got it, Johnny Chang.
He's called an accuser of the brethren. He accuses people. I'm so good. They shouldn't have done that to me. They're so wicked. I'm so good. What the heck? You understand, brothers and sisters?
Oh, yeah. You understand? Yeah.
So the way that Satan works is he pits you against you, and then he disappears.
What's that sniffling? What do you got going on, buddy? You have a rough morning?
Y'all understand, right?
You'll understand, right? I'm just doing a sermon from my gaming chair again.
Holy cow! That is a big super chat!
You could review Innuendo Studios on YouTube. Leftists live that channel for some reason.
Red Fox, thank you for that. Innuendos Studio. By the way, Red, thank you for the bottle. Red there works for a bourbon distillery. Coincidentally, the same one that I got as a gift from David Patrick Harry. And he sent me over a single barrel that he selected. You know, Red Fox, I was tempted to give that bottle to my priest after he did the home blessing, but because after I read your text and read the bottle and everything that you put into selecting it and sending it to me, I had to say, well, not even selfishly, but just like, you know, etiquetely. The etiquette is like, no, I gotta keep this. So I really appreciate that. Innuendos Studios. This guy's a mess. I can't even look at this guy, honestly. I'm so disturbed by him. Absolutely disturbed. Innuendo Studio. Okay. Well, that's interesting. South Bank. Okay. Alt-right playbook. Alt-right playbook. That should be good. Huh. The alt-right playbook. Let's see if they're right about this. This should be interesting. Thank you for the suggestion. Warning, racism and homophobic slurs.
Say, for the sake of argument, you run a modestly successful YouTube channel, and given the current political reality, you're thinking of doing some videos on the alt-right. Let's say you've been trying to understand the alt-right for some time and would like to do a series that tackles the big questions. What are the rhetorical strategies the alt-right uses to legitimize itself and gain power? How do these strategies work? Why do they work? How do we keep from falling for them? And, importantly, how do we catch ourselves when we start using them too? You're thinking of calling this series The Alt-Right Playbook. Setting aside that any lefty who makes a YouTube series with alt-right in the title will see their life go to hell, there are 3 things you'd have to clarify from the get-go. First, what is the alt-right? For clarity's
my gamer Xbox gamer tag? How do I know where that is? When I sign into Steam, I think I have named Thanks Rob, but I think you can search Made by Jim Bob and find me. But the name I go by when I'm playing is Thanks Rob.
Sake, you'd have to tell people that the alt-right is a pack of loosely aligned groups and individuals that have existed for quite a while at the peripheries of American conservatism, but have recently gained footholds in the Republican Party proper. The term alt-right implies more or less what you think it.
Every little thing is gonna be alt-right. Singing don't worry about a thing. 'Cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Rise up this morning. In the rising sun. 3 little migrants are on my doorstep.
It would, positioning themselves as the young, edgy Nirvana to the antiquated motley crew of 70s and 80s conservatism. They seek to replace...
Well, this is 8 years ago. I don't know what these guys have been doing. 8 years ago. Dude, what? 3 years ago? 1 year ago? Sheesh. Dude, the oldest video is, this guy's done. The oldest video, the more recent video is a year old. I'll look at some more of that and maybe pull some clips. Check it out. Singing 6 minutes, y'all. Get my three on this. We got 3 left on that one, y'all. 3 left. Let's get it. It's a Tony style joke. I appreciate Tony style jokes. Actually, Tony, if you're awake, I need you to download and send me over the file of your every TikTok thing. I want to animate it. I think we can go viral again. We won't get any credit, but we'll go viral. That was an old meme I did. I did a picture of Bob Marley, and he says every little thing is going to be alt-right. But I don't know if that's even relevant anymore, alt-right. By my doorstep, singing sweet song. Money, money. That's right, Aquarius. That's how it works. That's how it works. Products and services require labor and time. The absence of compensation means that that product or service doesn't exist anymore. That's right. That's right. Alt-Reich, that's actually pretty good too. I'm sure that's been memed. Nicely done. Nicely done. Alt-Right died at Charlottesville. Yeah, the whole thing kind of splintered, I think. And it's like the dissident right, which is like a version of the alt-right, isn't even consolidated either. There's overlapping groups. So, you know, that's why I think it's orthodox or nothing. I think if you run with that, yeah, you'll ostracize yourself a bit. You know, you'll take a hit. You'll take a hit. But it really is the truth. If you're gonna hold a position, it's orthodoxy or nothing, or orthodoxy and everything else, I should say. That's what you have to, that's what you have to do. Tell Tony to eat more leafy greens. We're pretty pumped. I mean, we're on the tinder has been lit. You know, the fuse has been lit. And for Orthothugs, where we're heading back into what would more likely look like a season 1 Orthothugs. A lot of production, a lot of skits, a lot of live stuff, a lot of pre-shot stuff. We're very excited. Who knew? It took like a whole hiatus, basically. Someone got assassinated. He got 9 dogs. I was depressed. And now we're back. So enjoy it while you can. Go over to Orthothugs on YouTube and give it a follow. Island in the Sun. I quite like that song. I used to cover that, but I think I forgot the words. Had like a fun folk version of that worked really well with like Travis picking. It's quite nice. God is the product? No, God's not the product. What are you talking about? Dude, you're sick. You got a sick mind. You're a pervert. You don't know how to reason properly. You're a slippery little pig snake. No, the product is commentary, entertainment, jokes, rhetoric, arguing, debating, animations. God, no. God's not the product. You little fuckhead. People like you need to be just... Fuck, Lord help me. Lord help me. You've schooled me 1,000 times? On what? They always say this. Oh, you got owned by me. When? Oh, I can't tell you when, but it happened. I promise. In my head, it happened 1,000,000 times. I swear I did it. I'm announcing it. Answer the comment. No. The comment section? Where? What? You owned me in the comment section? Gosh, you're a loser. You're just a loser. Here? What do you mean here? How can you own me in a chat? I just barely saw your chats. Cannibal? What? How am I a cannibal? Link attached? There's no links in the chat, dude. What are you talking about? It's too easy to make assertions? You don't have any arguments. You're a schizo. Probably a Gnostic, honestly. That's probably Marty Leeds' girlfriend. Poor Marty Leeds. Showing up. Dude, Marty Leeds is so triggered by my my examination of one of his videos that he showed up in Orthothugs, of all places, spurging out, just losing his shit. And Tony's like, what the hell? How do you show up at a little 3,000 sub comedy channel to spurg out about your Gnostic heresy? Unbelievable. He's probably talking about the Eucharist when he said cannibal. Yeah, I'd like to see an argument. That's what I'd like to see. Yeah, exactly. It happened when I declared it. It's rough. It's rough out there being these people. You know what I mean? It's got to be rough. I'm just happy. I'm so blessed to be me. I'm really blessed to be me. All right, let's do this. This looks like a good thing here. This guy is, yeah. This is it. Michael Burns. Okay, this should be a good clip. Let's review this. I've never seen this before, but the title caught my eye. It's by a guy named Michael Burns, 190 subs. The title of this video is, "This is what American Christians really believe." Now, let me just predict buckets of personal incredulity. Buckets. You ready? All righty.
Is under attack in America. Last weekend, around 100 clergy members in Minneapolis were arrested for peacefully protesting an occupation from a hostile military force. But because it's 2026 and we live in hell, right now what's happening is that our government is praying for the safety of ICE agents while arresting, harassing, and abusing clergy believers and generally peaceful protesters.
Clergy believers?
And this playbook isn't new.
I'm a clergy. I'm a authentic clergy believer. I'm a clergy believer.
March 23rd, 1980, Catholic Archbishop Oscar Romero delivered a sermon calling for Salvadoran soldiers, most of whom were Christian.
Did I say the N-word? No.
To choose God over government and refuse to carry out murders and human rights violations.
In his name and in the name of our tormented people who have suffered so much and whose laments cry out to heaven, I implore.
Are you a clergian?
I beg you.
Do you guys believe in clergy?
I order you, stop the repression.
The next day, Romero gave mass at a hospital chapel. As he stood on the altar, a car pulled up out front. Someone got out, walked in, and assassinated him.
Que muchos me dicen que debo de cuidarme un poco, que no ande exponiéndome.
This guy is just lost in the sauce. By the way, he's focusing on Catholicism, which, if he did any research at all, he would find that Catholics, the Catholic Church, facilitates more immigration than perhaps any other entity or establishment. So he's just kind of like using these weird dialectics where he's not being clear about what he's actually examining, this guy. Michael Burns. What are you doing? What are you doing?
Pero yo siento que mientras camine en el cumplimiento de mi deber, que me desplace libremente a ser un pastor de las comunidades, Dios va conmigo y si algo me sucede, pues estoy dispuesto a todo.
Now, the American government quickly showed solidarity by pledging continued.
Time me out, dude. Haven't even attempted to answer the attached link. You can't leave links, you dummy. You can't leave links. Do you know that? You can't leave links in the chat. They don't work. You loser.
Military support of the right-wing government that had Romero assassinated. And this was despite numerous protests against U.S. support for the Salvadoran military, including the International Longshoremen and Warehousemen's Union refusing to continue delivery of military aid to the Salvadoran government. The U.S. later allowed official entry to the death squad leader who had ordered Romero's assassination, with documents showing that Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush, both outspoken men of faith, were well aware of this and continued to offer him support nonetheless. So why does this keep happening? You know, why does a nation that so strongly identifies with Christianity continue to enable and justify the repression of and violence towards religious leaders and people of faith? In the example of Romero and El Salvador, where 3 American nuns and 1 lay missionary were also killed, along with 6 Jesuit priests.
I thought this was like a skit from, who's that Ryan guy? Who's that? He looks like a junkie. He's like a Canadian comedian who does skits. Ryan. I thought it was that guy.
American foreign...
Snagglebeast. Hello, Snagglebeast. This guy used to be the face of Philosophy Light channel called Wisecrack. He had a decent takes when analyzing fiction. Oh, he moved into everyone kind of moved into it because the entertainment, even entertainment and comedy it's all collapsed into politics. You can't separate it. So I don't even actually blame him, but he has no choice. He had to move into it.
Interest were committed to the fight against socialism and communism, represented by both an opposition political party and the leadership of the Catholic Church. And last week in Minnesota, the religious leaders standing with vulnerable and scared people were apparently also in their own way doing socialism or Antifa, or they were radical leftist funded by Soros. I don't know, something like that. They're the bad guys. The rabbis and the priests and the ministers there.
Well, rabbis are definitely the bad guys. You know what I mean?
Cool it with the anti-Semitic remarks.
They're the bad ones. So what we really have here is America using the guise of being a nation of faith to prioritize the interest of capital over the safety and freedom of human beings.
Safety, freedom, I don't know about that.
Including those of faith. While Christianity offers a social vision grounded in community, where our humanity is always considered via its relation to a larger collective.
That's funny.
The logic of capitalism demands that we are all atomized individuals, gaining meaning and value via our participation in the market. And because of this, socialism, even a biblically motivated socialism, is a threat to this brand of market individualism.
No, dude, he's just, what a shit take. I don't, honestly, just garbage. He's just like collapsing all of it. First of all, dummy, whether it's socialism or communism, they're only presented once you have capital. So it's like, even historically, you look at communism, it's always been a luxurious concept that's proposed by industrialists. Because you could only think that's possible from the elevated position you're in. That's the whole point. Is that like, you have a vision because you have the luxury of having a vision. Notice that before that, you need some form of exchange, free exchange, some form of a sort of a capitalistic exchange system, some market that has to exist for you to develop the necessary capital to have the vision. First of all, that's first and foremost. So it's just so naive. It's like, where do you get the infrastructure? Oh, well, once we have the product of capitalism and all of its fruits, then we can do the thing. It's like, well, no, if you could do the thing, you wouldn't need capitalism to do the thing. And if you do the thing, you run out of capital because you're undermining the system that gave you the infrastructure to then propose such a luxurious concept. It's just so bad. It's just like the dumbest.
And a threat to the entire American project.
Totally.
The best, most productive, and well-tested way of helping the poor is through market trade.
Which is why America has and is currently continuing to use a certain brand of Christian values as a thin veil for shoring up political and economic control.
Our values are under assault every single day, under a secular, atheist, leftist, Marxist movement.
Because, hey, what's if you kidnapped children and,
That ended up being a fake picture, by the way. And this is presented 2 days ago. That was declared as totally misrepresented.
Some murdered protesters for the sake of keeping the market strong.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, okay. All right. This lady tries to run someone over, right? But it's murder.
Wrong. Today, I'm going to talk about how much of what presents itself as Christian.
That's right. Without Christianity, without Christian values, without the structure, without the fruits of Christianity, even in a very general deistic, mutilated Enlightenment approach to Christianity, even in the most heterodox sense of it, do you know how lucky these people are? I say this all the time. Do you know how lucky you all are? All you atheist secularists. Do you know how fortunate you are that the Christians actually hold to their moral positions? Do you know that if the Christians suddenly kind of like believe mostly what they believe, but then they adopted a purely Darwinian secular position of just like, well, let's just do what they do. Do you know how lucky you are?
Christianity in America is just the logic of capitalism wearing its Sunday best.
Jesus wanted to clothe and feed the poor and give them.
Values aren't exclusive to Christianity. Yeah, I agree, but secular values borrow from Christianity. So the question isn't whether or not you can just erect some values. They're all completely atomized from a secularist position. Christianity has a cohesive set of values. Secularism doesn't have a cohesive set of values. Christianity has the metaphysics to justify and argue for their values. Secularism doesn't have the metaphysics that they can justify for their values. Christianity has a system where they can hold other Christians to account to their duties and obligations. Secularism doesn't have that. Okay, Aquarius rising, you're not rising anywhere. You're only rising in the sense of a clogged toilet, dude. Yeah, me too. I'm getting my mind is getting. I mean, well, thankful I have a confession on Wednesday, so I guess I should expected a rise in people who are going to draw out my worst traits. I suspect.
Housing. You hear Democrats talk about housing as a right, food as a right.
Yeah, rights. There's no rights, bro. Capitalism is just that you, the individual, own your own labor and can freely trade with others. With other forms of government, they own your labor. Yeah, it's just some other person owning your labor. And again, the limits of capitalism are moral. They end up being moral limits. Like when I say limits, I mean disadvantages, things that aren't so good. When you allow anything under the capitalist view, if you take a free market capitalism, the market hand, the secret hand does the capital stuff and then does all the work for you. It's like, no, I don't think that, I think that should be legal. Let the market decide. It's like if you have a society, Ben Shapiro, of degenerates, you can't let the market decide how culture is going to go. Yeah, I mean, I don't agree with that, but I would die for them to be able to diddle cadavers so long as it was legal.
I don't know. The Bible says that if you don't eat.
Craig, I already answered this. You said how much mystery, quote, ignorance is allowed in a worldview, given that we can't know God's essence. Don't we need a neutral standpoint? No, because I told you we can apophatically know things about God's nature, and the same thing with human nature, right? So it could be the fact that we can't fully exhaust what human nature is in a set of listed attributes such that we knew we got every single one. We don't need that to appeal to something called human nature. So mystery from an orthodox position, I wouldn't equate it with ignorance. Because sometimes we're ignorant to our own sin. It doesn't follow that the sin doesn't exist. We're we're judged by what we know. It doesn't follow that because we're judged by what we know that we're alleviated of being judged based on what we do, based on what we do know. When you can't use mystery in the sense we use it for, let's say, God's nature, and use it for everything else, because they're two different categories. It's just, Craig, it's like the mystery of knowing something empirically wouldn't be in the same category as the mystery of a nature, because a nature is not an empirical claim. So you're collapsing metaphysics with empirical positions and empirical inductive conclusions. It's a category error. Mystery is limits of knowledge. We don't know. We don't know everything. That's not a controversial position. We don't know everything.
You don't work, you don't eat. And how a more authentic vision of Christianity involves critiquing power and serving the oppressed rather than serving the powerful while critiquing the oppressed, which seems to be the current vibe, if I'm understanding it correctly.
I simply will not bend a knee.
I'm not saying I created myself. I'm saying my parents created me. Well, you have endless regress problem, especially if you're an evolution proponent. So that's going to fall apart.
To the cult of empathy.
Now, this is the third part in a series of videos I've been making on the politics and philosophy of American Christianity. You do not need to have watched the first two to get what I'm doing here, but I do recommend checking those out if you enjoyed this one. I've really appreciated all the feedback that you all have given me.
Oh, shut up and just get on to any arguments you have. Do you have any?
Okay, because no one likes a long sermon, I'm going to cut right to the point. Much of what we think as American Christianity, from the evangelical megachurch movement to Erica Kirk's TPUSA to Trump's executive orders to protect Christians, is little more than rampant capitalism and militarism in a spiritual costume. Now, many have traced this brand of American evangelical capitalism back to the emergence of the moral majority and the rise of the neoconservative movement. But it actually goes way deeper, back to the early days of the American evangelical movement. In December of 1940, Reverend James W. Fifield Jr. was a speaker at the National Association of Manufacturers at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York. Addressing a crowd of business leaders, Fifield defended the American system of free enterprise while offering a full-on assault on Franklin D. Roosevelt's administration and their New Deal policies. Now, none of this would...
Brian Shapiro? No, dude. No. Actually, I saw some of that, and it was like Andrew was trying to, get him to kind of develop. That was more like a coaching call. That was like Andrew, like almost being like, okay, we're past the debate section of our interaction, and now we're in the relationship section where I'm trying to help you. Trying. What are you talking about? Craig says, weird question, but how do we know God revealed himself to us from a first-person perspective as opposed to an advanced alien with a fake revelation? Well, you have to take the whole worldview, Craig. You have to take that's why we push people to the worldview level. It's not singular propositions. Because aliens, right? Then you're talking about aliens. Well, if you're taking the alien approach, now you have to have an account of creation for aliens and metaphysics and ethics. And you have to have the whole worldview, Craig. You're stuck, Craig, in empirical, classical foundational view of epistemology. You're not examining reality from the holistic view. From a whole view. You keep parsing it out to these little things like, okay, well, what if aliens exist? Okay, let's grant that aliens exist. That what we thought revelation was actually from aliens. Okay, but you still have these other problems. You still have philosophical problems. You have epistemological problems. You still need a worldview to account for it all. So when you posit, what if it's aliens, all you're saying is you're bringing it back into the real world, which would then facilitate a question at the worldview world again. And that's kind of what it's like debating people. Is you're like, let's ask a necessary question at the worldview level. And then you go, well, let me insert something that brings us back into you grant me reality. You grant me identity over time. You grant me that the world operates a certain way. You grant me knowledge, information, universals, particulars, mathematics, science, empiricism. Grant me all of that first. And then I'll just add aliens. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't get you out of the problem. You still have to ask the larger question. Which worldview, this is the question, which worldview, Craig, justifies coherently the set of preconditions for all things? What worldview accounts for that, can present that? Well, an alien view doesn't. But isn't this worldview, quote, is coherent different than I know the experience I'm having right now is, no, the I that you're positing in the second quote needs a justification. And really, it's not even knowledge, it would be faith, right? So I would argue, Craig, that the worldviews people hold end up pushing toward a faith-based system, that you ultimately are putting your faith into something. And if that's the case, the new question is which worldview accounts coherently for faith? You don't get to be granted I know anything, actually. You don't get that second quote for free. You don't get to know that.
Would have been that shocking to a room full of capitalists. But what was surprising was Fiffield's call to utilize clergymen and the church to regain the upper hand in their war with Roosevelt. Now, according to historian Kevin M. Cruz, Fiffield claimed that as men of God, ministers could voice the
That's right. Yeah, it's holistic.
Same conservative complaints as business leaders, but without any suspicion that they were motivated solely by self-interest. They could push back against claims.
This guy sucks. Actually, he's actually boring too. That's the other part. He's like a run-of-the-mill. It's like if someone made like a pull-string doll for like a leftist talkie head. And they're like, let's dress him in that costume with the hat and the beanie. And it's like, dude, it's like an NPC. The only thing you can prove that God made is tall trees, poisonous plants. No. In fact, we could... what do you mean, proof? What are you talking about? What you saying, boy? You don't even know what you believe. These people don't know what they believe. 4 minutes, 20 seconds. 3 more, y'all. Make it count. 4 minutes, 20 seconds. Funny choice of music for his video. It was used in the tragedy of Barry Lyndon. You think that was purposeful? You can't really come at us with that, atheist, because the Christian worldview is God created and then there was a fall. So you can't just be like, let's skip to the pointing to the things that are in a post-fall world. You have to internally critique the Christian view. And you're not doing that. What a surprise. The guy with atheist in his name, not critiquing the view. I'm saying that the things were on Earth before. It doesn't matter what things were on Earth before humans. You can't critique the Christian view without including the fall in the theology. You can't just be like, well, look, created stuff. Everything you see today was God created. It's like, well, no, not actually. They never do. They're pig snakes. You got the pig snake all-star team. Well, no, I'm going to critique part of your worldview. I'm going to run the Epicurean problem of evil, where I affirm that evil exists, even though I deny it. Epicurean. So I should say, what was on Earth 40,000 years ago? No, I don't grant you 40,000 years, dude. Your entire time system is mangled anyway, as we demonstrated in the last Discord call. Well, look, I pick up rock, and because I can know how old a dog is when it died, I could know that a rock is 500 million thousand years old. See? See your DM? Where? We're at 2 minutes, y'all. 3 chats left. Make it count. Don't spend it on a Starbucks coffee. They don't give you nothing in return. In fact, their coffee's burned. Is burned. Totally burned coffee. Based on the bounds. Take a lot more evidence than that to show how old something is. Well, you can't. You can't from the atheist view because, like, a perfect example, atheist, is people like you from your cult say there's an age of the earth, which makes no sense. And it doesn't make sense because the earth is made up of particulars that all apparently have a different origin and a different place in the universe than where it is now. So you can't actually distinguish between the age of the earth and the age of the material of the earth, which is not exactly the earth if you go back further. So that's like the flute. You find a flute. You go, how old is this flute? Oh, this flute is 26,000 years old. You go, wait, isn't it made of something that's older than the composition of the flute? And they go, yeah. Well, then it can't. Then what are you talking about? What are we talking about here? I always ask these people, when in their process of molding from gravity alone, molding a spherical thing. One more chat, 20 seconds. Molding this thing, this spherical object called an Earth, when does it become the start date of its birthday? You know what I mean? They can't even decide when a human being starts. They're going to tell you when the Earth starts? I mean, it's insane. Totally arbitrary. No one knows the history of the world really more than 2,000 years, so even knows when it went on. It's a big problem. They think it's not a big problem because they're like, yeah, but we measure things. Yeah. You can't measure something and verify it if you don't have access to its origin. You just have to presuppose it. Thank you so much for the goal. Well, you see, we verify the evidence of the rocks of the age with other evidence. The evidence is the evidence. Yes, that's right. You see, the evidence is the evidence. And that's how we get the evidence, is the evidence. Okay. Okay. Whatever you say. Okay. Whatever you say there, partner. Oh. It's very simple. Nothing started it. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you see, nothing started it. It's very simple. You see, there was something before the nothing, but the something just self-existed. Yeah, that's what we believe. Yeah, but we have a something that self-existed. We call it the initial state. Can it be described by classical physics? Does it abide by the classical laws of logic insofar as relation to objects? No, it transcends that. We say that about the Trinity. No, you guys can't have that. We can have it, though. We get an initial state that can't possibly be reduced to our knowledge of physics. We can do that. We're allowed to do that. Craig Comedy says, I guess what I don't understand is, even if I believe in the Orthodox Christian worldview, how do I know in any given moment that the statement God is revealing himself to me is true? I wouldn't say he's revealing himself to you. From the Orthodox view, God revealed the truth, delivered the faith, and he delivered it, and it's been preserved by the church, Craig. So I would say at that point you get into divine liturgy and expand what you know to be true from proposition to participatory. So no, you're not critiquing the Orthodox view. You're critiquing a Pentecostal view. You know, that's what I'm saying is, like, you've been here for months, and I'm glad you're here and you're asking questions, and I think you truly want to know the answers to. But people think that, like, there's ongoing revelation and ongoing like prophecy and feeling and getting beams to your head about what's true. That's not it. The truth is a person from the Orthodox view, not a set of propositions, Craig. And you participate in the person. All of these other things, empirical claims, science, these are the lowest forms of epistemology. They're the lowest forms of epistemology. And you're trying to get to God from the lowest forms of epistemology. That's autonomous. You're trying to do autonomous epistemology and get yourself up to God. No, that's the wrong approach. When's the story? Is there something with Kent Hovind? I might get Kent Hovind on Scud, but we got to do a test run with a couple of mediocre talking heads first. I don't want to risk it. I got to get, work out the kinks. You know what I'm saying? How do they know what they measure is accurate if certain particles change their behavior when observed? Well, they just, but also they just have no access. There's no access to verifying the age of anything. The moment it's beyond your accessibility, you can't verify it. You just have to assume it. Dane says, wrote you on X with a YouTube channel called The Line with Atheists. Oh, yeah, I've seen the line. I called into The Line. You guys want to see a funny clip from The Line? Now that you paid a super chat, you deserve it. Here's a clip of me calling into Matt Dillahunty and him denying that his own mind exists. Okay, thanks for reminding me. Look at that. Look at these two people. Look like a couple of Lego villains.
Cannot and have not demonstrated. The fact that there is a mechanism doesn't mean that mechanism is not evaluating information. I got a computer on my desk, which is entirely a mechanism, and it evaluates information and puts out results based on the heuristics that we programmed it with.
That required a mind.
I have a mind. Is your real question, how could a mind arise in a purely mechanical naturalistic universe? Is that your real question?
Actually, close. I guess it would be, what is a mind in a purely naturalistic reality?
My mind is what my brain does.
So your mind is not identical to the brain. A mind is.
Why is it that when I give you an answer, JD?
Stop crying. I'm clarifying.
Did you just say stop crying?
No, he said he's clarifying.
Okay, I'm asking you a question, JD. Why is it that when I give you an answer, you have to try to frame it in a different way? I just said my mind is what my brain does.
So a mind is an action.
No.
You just said it does. Doing is action.
Yeah, but okay. A mind is an emergent property of my brain. That doesn't make it an action. It makes it an emergent collection of actions.
Okay, a mind is an emergent property of the brain. Does that mean a mind is physical, distinct from the brain, or
the mind doesn't exist? The mind cannot.
The mind doesn't exist. Oh boy. The Line, that thing, you know what I mean? Like that show, they're so insulated over there that I think it's a disservice to them to do a call-in. You got to get those people out of this controlled environment where they actually have to defend their views in a moderated setting. That's what's useful about debate, is when they stay on their show, like Culture Cats or any of these guys, they stay really safe in their little nugget, their nugget of comfort. And it's like, no, get out of that. Get out of that. And then they're like, no, is that Justin Bieber? I did say stop crying. Yeah, definitely told him to stop crying because he was. It's like, why is it that every time I talk that you have to clarify what I'm saying? I have a mind that doesn't exist. Yeah. The dono's broken? Could be. Let me see. All righty. All right. Well, that's just going to run out. That happens to me sometimes. So, imagine like there's a goal, y'all. Imagine that there's a goal here. Justin Blobber. All right. Where are we? Where are we? So, yeah, what I'm going to do now, because I've been thinking about how I do this. People have been calling me and texting me and all sorts of comments saying you gotta make a video against evolution, whether it's a 3-part series or, you know, whatever, a one big 30-minute video. I don't know what I'm going to do exactly, but clearly it's needed. Oh, look, it's working now. It's needed because maybe I'll do it in the format where I call out someone like Gutsick Gibbon and have her try to answer some of these questions that I would have otherwise asked in a debate. Has nothing to do with creationism. For those of you in the chat who are atheistic or believe in evolution, the cross-examination and sowing doubt of evolution has nothing, it does not require at all any invoking of Christian doctrine or beliefs at all. It doesn't require it. You wish it did, so then you can use that as a way to get it out of focus, what your claim is. Like, get that out of focus and get focus onto some other claims. No. You got to defend it on its own merits. He lost all his hair because all atheists stress. They have nowhere to rest their hearts, souls. Yeah, it's actually sad, Giovanni. You know, he has to. Matt Dillahunty ends his evening of debating nonsense with people by cuddling with a man and pretending it's a woman. JB, you are excellent at evolution. You suck at Christianity. What do you mean I suck at? I don't really debate Christianity too much. I practice Christianity. Debating Christianity to some extent is going to be, at some level, is going to be counterintuitive if it brings you out of practice. So, but no, you haven't established that anyway. You don't really have any arguments, Aquarius, because you're a loser. Loser! Lord, forgive me. How about bring an argument, Aquarius? Bring an argument. All you have is assertions. I'm waiting for an argument. That would be great. Thank you. Maybe show a video of how real science is done. Yeah, I could do that. There's so much to cover too, and like how to cover it. Like, is it more fun angle with animation? Is it classic talk at the screen? That's where I get into a little bit of like, what should I do? What should I do? Too many options. Too many options. Give us an argument. Give us an argument. Essence, energy, Father, Son, Spirit, 5. Gosh, man, these people. Oh, man, alchemist. It's just, how do they do it? It's like, how are these people not Muslim? An essence isn't a person, dude. An energy isn't a person. People have energies. People have essences. Energy is, essence is what? Right? Person is who? You could look at the energy of a person. What you interact with is the energy. You don't actually interact with the human nature part. You interact with the active part. The nature, a what doesn't do anything, alchemist. What's the category of what? That doesn't do anything. There's nothing that it does. I mean, look, Esoram's here. See what he has to deal with? You see the kind of stuff he has to deal with? How do you do it? How do you do it? Patristic faith. How do you not log off the internet and break all the dishes? There's 5 people there. Okay, cool. Let's take your logic for a second. Let's say there's 5 people and they all share human nature. If nature is a person, then there's 10 people there. Does that make sense to you? It's not Platonism. That's not Platonism. The Orthodox Christian view doesn't posit that there are these disembodied objects in out there in the ether. His essence is not his energy. That's not an entity. You're collapsing all sorts of... Look, take it simply. Let's take it real slowly. Are you a human being? I can't believe I have to do this over and over again. No wonder Jay is just constantly sighing. I don't blame him. Oh, this is so dumb. This is solo tears. Go read a book or something, dude. I can't, dude. You're wasting my time, dude. Let's do it from the top, Alchemist. Are you a human being? I need some Woompy. Yes, you're a human being. Okay. You are a human being. That's what you are. Who you are, right? Who you are doesn't necessitate two identities, right? You are a human being as a category, but who you are and what you are doesn't split you into two human beings, right? There's not two entities. There's one entity, a human being, that's what they are, and who they are. Alchemist is who is the human being, right? According to your critique, there's two human beings now. There's the nature, what they are. That has to be a distinct entity, what they are, and then who they are is distinct. So now there's two human beings? Okay, good. At least he's good faith right now. He's getting a bit better, right? So you couldn't, if you were to collapse the person and the natures, then if there's three human beings in the room and the nature is identical to the person, then there's only one human being in the room. Or there's six beings in the room. So depending on where someone is in their Muslim life, they'll say, oh, brother, there's six beings now. There's six beings. Or they'll say, brother. Speaking of, how did, what is his name? How did David Wood do? How did he do? We can't watch the whole thing, but hopefully there's highlights. Hopefully.
Is after Jesus says, "This is my blood of the new covenant." It was after that.
Matthew 23.
So before he said, "This is the new covenant in my blood." Before.
Oh, so this is time bound then. This is time bound. This means. Yeah. Oh, wait. So when he said,
wait, you don't know that.
Now I have to return that shirt because Jake Brancacella has it. Now I have to return it.
You don't know that covenants are time bound. You don't know that covenants are time bound.
Oh, so that. That's what the Muslim position is. Okay, so part of Islamic law, according to the Quran, is an authority over you and is being forced upon you, correct?
Let's see David deliver.
Which is with you.
Does he deliver?
Reading the Quran, dismembering the Quran. Stand fast.
First contradiction in the Quran that the original.
Next verse says that Jews call Ezra the son of Allah. Hint, they don't. And that Christians call Jesus the son of Allah. The passage goes on to say that with our speech, we are trying to put out the light of Allah with our mouths, and that Allah is not going to allow.
Yeah, Alchemist, go to Divine Liturgy, dude. I'm not, look, your paradigm is going to chew up and interpret anything I'm saying. Go to Divine Liturgy. If you want questions, if you're inquiring from an outside perspective of orthodoxy and all of this, you might as well go to Divine Liturgy and get your answers at least partially through or with in parallel to experience. Otherwise, it's just a disservice. First of all, I'm not the guy to answer these questions at some threshold. It's just going to not be. It's not going to be good. I'll give you the wrong answer. But further, it doesn't matter, because if you're trying to figure out if orthodoxy is true, wouldn't you just also just start participating and see the experience? St. James.
Allow us to put out his light. That's why he sends Muhammad to subjugate us. This is what we're preaching. And according to Islam, what we're preaching does not line up with our scriptures. We're distorting and misrepresenting what our scriptures teach. That is exactly my view of the Quran. So no conflict there. For people who want to enter, thought that's what it meant. But
and the Islam or from the Old Testament for the Jews, then that means that the entirety of the Torah could not be followed by the Jews even at the time of Jesus, because he was already abrogating certain laws from within it. So
this whole thing, I already see where he's arguing from. He thinks that a Christian view abolishes what we would call Old Testament law, how you participate versus new, as opposed to a continuation, right? That's just, now, it's not going to take much for David Wood. I was trying to find exactly where the dilemma, though. Is there a dilemma? There is a dilemma. I feel like even by looking at David Wood's opener, it's almost like he put so much more than necessary into the opener. But, I guess that's just rigorous. But honestly, I think people should simplify and just be like, look, it's really simple. How does a Muslim of this century know what's true? How do you do it? Same thing posited to a Mormon, a sand Muslim, or no, sand Mormon is you get what I'm saying. How to perform a worldview comparison if not from a neutral standpoint? There's no neutral, Craig. There's no such thing as a neutral standpoint, right? You're going to have to find the view that is coherently filters down to recursion, Craig. So go and do yourself a favor, whether watch a video or read it if you want, but there's a myth of the given. That's a myth. You don't have neutrality. All worldviews are theory-laden. That's the point, Craig. That's why you have to go to a paradigm level. So your question is, well, how do I examine a paradigm level if I'm already in a paradigm? Well, that's a good question. The difference between autonomous and theonomous. Now you're starting to ask a really destructive question to an autonomous view, Craig, is like you think you grant yourself a neutral position where you're going to achieve knowledge upward. You're going to grab it upward. You're going to build it up. I'm going to build up my inductive conclusions and then come to something. We're saying that, no, there's only two options. There's autonomous epistemology or theonomous. It's either top-down and delivered, which would necessitate a revelatory system, or it's bottom-up and it's totally subjective and it's illusory. Well, obviously, that dilemma, you know which one to pick. And it is a true dilemma. There is no third option. There's no third option between autonomous, bottom-up epistemology, human, doing all the work, constructive. It's constructive. You're constructing it. Versus it's been revealed. It actually necessitates a starting point. You're not the starting point. I'm not the starting point. So if you understand and confront the fact, Craig, that all knowledge, everything's theory-laden, that you don't have a neutral position. There's no such thing. There never was. Then you'll start peeling back the layers and going, wait a second, there really is no other way to examine this. from a position that knowledge is top down and we discover it.
I don't understand why you have this trouble of actually understanding my argument. Maybe it's because you don't really understand your own argument well enough. Now, you also said that you accept abrogation in the Quran. That's fine. Then you have to explain how you don't have the same dilemma that you claim when the Quran says to follow the Quran, the entirety of it, yet it abrogates certain portions of it. So how can you follow all of it while not following all of it?
Oh, that's easy. That's not the same, Jake, because guess what? Christianity doesn't need any part of Islam to be true, and Islam requires a large part of Christianity to be true. It's really simple. That's the symmetry breaker, Jake. No matter what kind of hat or weird robe, half robe, LL Bean selling Islamic clothing, I guess now, no matter what you say, Islam needs Christianity, Christian revelation, Christian prophets, all of these things to be true. But Christianity doesn't need a single bit of Islam to be true. Now, it's really simple. I forget how it's posited, but it's A and B. Someone did a really good video on this, but it was in regards to Catholicism, affirming Orthodox, but Orthodox not affirming Catholicism. I forgot the structure of the argument, but it was simple, and it was like, if one affirms the other and one doesn't affirm the other, so one of them is true. The one that both affirm A is true is the one that's true. Islam is so tired, dude. It's just like, dude, debating? No. At this point, it's like debating Islam. Now, yeah, you could weaken positions and send people into Christianity. Glory to God. But it's like, look, debating the coherency of Islam doesn't stop Muslims from reproducing, even if it's their inbred, retarded offspring. They're still reproducing and taking over regions at a time in the U.S. So it's like, let's be real. Let's be real. That's not gonna... Defeating Muslims' theology doesn't defeat Islam at all. So it doesn't do it. From my worldview is true. No, you don't have it. Look, I didn't say that, first of all, Craig. But further, to say that anything can be true or false necessitates something, right? That's why we ask about the preconditions. Is it true, Craig K. Comedy, that to even say anything could be true assumes a whole slew of things, right? That's why we say it's not neutral. You can't say anything's true if you have no standard for what's true. What's true? How do you know what's true? How do you know is truth ultimate? Is truth absolute? Does truth change? What's the status of truth? Is it material? Is it abstract? What are we talking about here, Craig? That's why. That's the whole point, dude. You keep inserting things like, well, I want to know what's true. Okay, from your current worldview, which is not orthodox, is truth an object? Is truth a proposition? What is it? Is it absolute? Is it purely conceptual? Is it, what are we talking about when you say this? Well, truth is that comports with reality. Okay, well, reality is a metaphysical claim now. Now you're in metaphysics. So what's your metaphysics view? I'm trying to demonstrate to you that no matter what branch of philosophy of a worldview you take, epistemic, metaphysical, or ethical, or moral, or even ontological, you're going to be constantly jumping from one branch to the other. That's the point. So the question is, if these are all theory-laden, what is the root that pulls all three branches into one single body? What is the root? Well, from your view, you're still stuck in foundationalism. You still think that there's self-evident truths. You still think that you can come to truth and through empiricism, and that's the best angle, apparently. Now, I don't know if you said this, but the way your questions are formed shows me this. You grant yourself self-evident things. the ability to reason, the ability to evaluate things, meaning, purpose, your mind, laws of logic. You just give them, you're just, well, I'll just take this bag of stuff. I'll just take the bag of stuff. I don't need to, I have the bag of stuff. You don't have a monopoly on the bag of stuff. I have the bag of stuff. No, you can't justify the bag of stuff. You're using a bunch of hammers and sawzalls and nails that your own worldview can't justify, but yet there you go walking around with your little bag of tools. It's about justification. It's about a good reason. It's about having a good reason to claim you have the things that you have. But it's axiomatic every time. Yeah, it's axiomatic. The thing I can't question. Anyway. No, I have this stuff. No, I have this stuff. You don't have this stuff. No, I have this stuff.
I just got so mad.
You don't even know what stuff I have. Empiricism is like the whole classical foundational model has really done a number on our world. Really. No, Platonism doesn't do it either, though. Platonism can't justify the objects that they're referring to. They're just saying, like, well, they're out there. Well, what's the status of them? It's not fully recursive. So that's a problem. There it is. If A says B is true and B says A is false, then A is false. Okay, thank you for that, Dustin. I appreciate that. It's hard to remember that. Even though it's so simple, it's so hard to remember. And like I say, most of the time, everything kind of comes down to properly categorizing. Like a good indication that you're at least close to a worldview that's coherent is if you have things in coherent categories. And if you're a materialist, if you're a physicalist, you don't even have access to categories. If you're a nominalist, you have access to nothing, really. You got access to nothing. But then again, you just grant it. Oh, knowledge exists. Oh, minds exist. Apples exist. Huh. I love this. I love using things I can't justify under my own worldview. It's Christmas every day. Classical empiricism is good at making predictions, but that's more about theoretical math. Yeah, that's also post-philosophy. So it's like, just like science is post-philosophy of science, it requires all these things, right? Yeah. Math is not physical. Knowledge, not physical. Information, it's not physical. Even the statement, empiricism is good at making predictions, is a statement that's not it's not an empirical thing. That's a claim about the process. And so that's its first problem. It doesn't. It's purely nominal. Mm-hmm. There's nothing you're actually referring to. Well, I would just use language, though, to describe it then. Nope, you don't have that either. What did Sean Carroll say the other day that I reviewed? Sean Carroll says, well, it's the reality of is that everything's physical, but it's way more abstract than we think. What? Yes, the argument isn't according to my worldview, mine is true. Right. You didn't say truth doesn't exist. I said that in my own worldview, my worldview is true. We're asking you what's true. I already asked you this, Craig. You're using terms like true. We're asking you, from your worldview, Do you have an ontology for truth? What is truth? Is just a proposition about the world? What is truth? That's what I asked you. Post-Gold argument. Yeah, thank you. Post-Gold argument. Because even if you take a conceptual approach to truth, you still necessitate something that's beyond propositions anyway. So, where are you going to go? Reading Rainbow. It's in a book. That's the best argument so far. At least he's here asking questions. Didn't you know the Jews worship the Trinity? Well, the Trinity is definitely in the Old Testament. Trinity would be is essentially necessary for revelation. The argument is God is a necessary precondition for knowledge. Knowledge exists, therefore God. That's right. Judaism doesn't even exist. But the Jews, you're denying that Epstein exists? You serious? You're going to deny in this time, in this era, in 2026, that Epstein doesn't exist?
Cool it with the anti-Semitic remarks.
Unbelievable. You're just denying reality. You're just denying reality.